Chapter 74. Although he did not make a move, just by relying on his protective astral chi, he was able to render their attacks useless. Xiao Yuanshan and the other two knew that they no longer had any hope, so they turned their gazes towards Fang Qingshan. If there was one person who could challenge the old monk, it would be Fang Qingshan. Master, why didn't you stay in the sutra depository to cultivate? Why did you come here? Fang Qingshan ignored the others and stared at the old monk. He thought that after Wu Yizi broke through, he would be on par with the old monk. But after the short exchange just now, he knew that he was too naive. Even if Wu Yizi broke through, there would still be a huge gap between him and the old monk. At the same time, he was delighted. The more powerful the old monk was, the more he would gain from verifying his martial arts. Oh, almsgiver, you know me? The old monk was stunned. He didn't expect Fang Qingshan to know him. I heard my master mention it by accident. Fang Qingshan casually found an excuse. Your master is? The old monk raised his eyebrows. My master is Wu Yizi from the Carefree sect. Fang Qingshan said respectfully. Carefree sect? Wu Yizi. The old monk's eyes flashed with a trace of nostalgia. Fang Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. There were many different opinions about the old monk's background. There was no accurate answer. Some said that he was Murong Bo's father and Xiao Yuanshan's master. After all, he had tried so hard to resolve the feud between the Xiao and Murong clans. Some said that the Northern Song dynasty's historical figure, Jin Tai, was no match for Xiong, no match for Ba, no match for Li, and no match for Jin. Although Fang Qingshan didn't know the old monk's background, from the old monk's reaction, he must have had some dealings with Wu Yizi and the others. I wonder if almsgiver can give me face and stop now. The old monk had a good temperament. If Fang Qingshan hadn't been paying attention to him, he wouldn't have noticed the nostalgia on his face. The old monk didn't forget why he came here. Shaolin Temple is a peaceful place for Buddhism. It is disrespectful to Buddha to kill too many people. Haha, Grandmaster's words are a little too biased. Fang Qingshan chuckled. Earlier, when this eunuch captured Fang Shu, why didn't you come out to stop him? Could it be that this eunuch's life is a life, but Fang Shu's life isn't? The old monk shook his head. I only found out about this matter because of the fight between the two benefactors. It would have been fine if I didn't know about it, but since I know about it, I naturally can't just stand by and watch, whether it's the benefactor beside me or the others. As he spoke, the old monk pointed at Eunuch Li. You've all seen this almsgiver's cultivation. Just now, he used a secret technique, and his cultivation will skyrocket. Later on, he will suffer the consequences of his own actions. However, right now, both sides will undoubtedly suffer. Why don't we stop here? Fang Qingshan didn't say anything. After all, he had already sensed it earlier. On the other hand, Murong Bo, Xiao Yuanshan, Murong Fu, and the other onlookers couldn't help but quietly wipe the cold sweat on their foreheads. Fortunately, the old monk came out. Otherwise, if Eunuch Li, who was almost invincible, were to erupt with his cultivation, those with higher martial arts skills would be fine. But the other onlookers would be implicated. They would die if they were touched. Just thinking about the time when Xiao Feng was far inferior to Eunuch Li in the virtuous gathering manner, and yet his power was already so strong, everyone couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. Looking at the people retreating one by one, Xiao Yuanshan and Murong Bo, who only wished for the world to be in chaos, couldn't help but feel a little disheartened. This time, they really went for wool and came home shorn. Not only did they not achieve their goal, but they also offended a top expert like Eunuch Li. Their future days will be a bit difficult, but there's nothing they can do. Who told the old monk to be so powerful? At this moment, Eunuch Li couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Although he also didn't expect that the Shaolin Temple would have such an expert who could crush him. But compared to Fang Qingshan, such a person was easier to deal with. Because they had ties. As long as the Shaolin Temple wasn't destroyed, he would almost never appear in front of the public. Previously, he used the secret method to erupt, wanting to put himself at death's door, but it was just a last resort. If he put himself at death's door, he would die without a burial place. Moreover, even if he was reborn, stimulating his potential to erupt, the after effects would be quite big. So, what if he dragged others down with him? Eunuch Lee cherished his life very much. If he had to use his life to exchange for others, he wouldn't be willing to do so. Fong Qingshan narrowed his eyes and looked at the old monk, then deliberately said, "Grandmaster, you said it lightly. You don't know that if you don't remove the roots when cutting the grass, it will grow again when the spring wind blows. I don't have anything, but how can the people around me be guaranteed? If I let the tiger return to the mountain today, a Zhu and a Bai will suffer revenge in the future. Will this debt be placed on Grandmaster's head or Shaolin's head?" Boss. Hearing this, the old monk couldn't help but be silent for a while. Then he sighed. Revenge breeds revenge. When will it stop? When will the butcher's knife in your heart stop? The old monk also knew that what Fong Qingshan said was right, but for the sake of Shaolin Temple, he had to take the initiative. "Grandmaster, all living beings are equal," Fong Qingshan said indifferently. The old monk sighed. "If you really erupt, I'm afraid you can't protect yourself, not to mention the people around you. Although I can't protect myself, I won't die. Even if I die, I still have Master Wu Yazi, Martial Uncle Wu Xingyun, and Martial Uncle Li Qiushui. They will naturally avenge me." Fong Qingshan sneered. "Judging from your previous state, you should know about the Xiaoyao sect and my master. You are afraid of offending the imperial court. Do you think my Xiaoyao sect is a vegetarian? I am my master's last disciple and the current head of the Xiaoyao sect. If I die in Shaolin Temple today, do you think Shaolin Temple can get away with it?" After listening to Fong Qingshan's words, the old monk couldn't help but fall silent. He had lived for a long time, so he was no stranger to the Xiaoyao sect. This sect was both righteous and evil. It was fine if others didn't provoke it, but once they did, they would definitely side with their relatives. That was not all. The key was that Wu Xingyun, Wu Yazi, and Li Qiushui were not much weaker than Eunuch Li and Fong Qingshan back then. Now that their disciples were so powerful, even if Wu Yazi and the others were not as powerful as him, they were probably not that far off. Provoking these three old monsters was probably no better than provoking the imperial court. Everyone has their own selfish motives. For the sake of Shaolin Temple, with me here, no one can use force today. After a moment of silence, the old monk had no choice but to use force. In any case, he absolutely couldn't let anything happen to Fong Qingshan or Eunuch Li in Shaolin Temple today. Otherwise, whether it was the imperial court or the Xiaoyao Three Elders, Shaolin Temple would be in trouble. Chapter 75. No one expected that the final result would be like this. The old monk actually went back on his words. However, no one could do anything about it. They had no choice but to lower their heads when they were under someone else's roof. Fong Qingshan, Murong Bo, Xiao Yuanshan, and Murong Fu's joint attack could only cause some ripples on the defensive wall. Even if a few more people came, it would still be useless. Xiao Yuanshan and Murong Bo were extremely disappointed. Their plan had really failed. On the other hand, Fong Qingshan did not care about it. He really did not put Eunuch Li in his heart. Previously, he was injured by him. Although his heart was filled with hostility, it was not that he had to make him stay. In the end, the most important reason why he came to Shaolin was to spar with the old monk. He wanted the old monk to give him pointers on his cultivation. As long as he could help him improve, everything else was just a side issue. After being silent for a while, Fong Qingshan suddenly raised his head and said, "Great master, you are an enlightened monk. Your martial arts are far above mine. Today, you can use your strength to suppress me. With just a word, you made me release a tiger back to the mountain. You have left me with endless troubles. In the future, I might also bring the seniors of Xiaoyao sect to Shaolin to pay a visit." All right, the old monk was acting shamelessly. Fong Qingshan was also being soft with a hint of hard, threatening him. The scene that had gradually calmed down suddenly became tense again. The old monk took a deep look at Fong Qingshan and suddenly smiled. Seeing this, everyone was confused. He shook his head and said, "Benefactor, if you have any request, just say it. As long as I can do it, this old monk will not refuse." At this time, the old monk finally reacted. If Fong Qingshan really did not want to give up, why would he talk so much nonsense with me? And the reason for this must be because he had a request. The old monk could see through Fong Qingshan's thoughts. He could not help but let out a sigh of relief. As long as he had a request, then he would have a weakness and a way to deal with it. The most troublesome ones were those who had no desires and were stubborn. This was because they only believed in their own way and would not give up until they achieved their goals. As long as Great Master agrees to 2 of my requests, I can give up today. Fong Qingshan chuckled. First, if I can break through your defense, don't interfere. Second, I have a martial art that I would like Master to give me some pointers. The old monk was stunned. It wasn't that Fong Qingshan's conditions were too difficult, but they were too simple. Without hesitation, he nodded and said, "No problem." Not to mention the old monk, the others also felt that Fong Qingshan's 2 conditions were too simple. This was no different from giving up directly. There was no need to talk about the second condition. For the first condition, even if Fong Qingshan wasn't injured, Eunuch Li and Fong Qingshan might not be able to break through the old monk's defense, let alone now. But she didn't know why he did this. Little did they know that Fong Qingshan came to Shaolin Temple for only 2 purposes. One was to get some advice from the old monk, and the other was to fight to his heart's content and prove what he had learned. After all, fighting was the best teacher. As for Eunuch Li's matter, it was just a small matter, and he didn't take it to heart at all. Just as everyone was still wondering what Fong Qingshan was thinking, Fong Qingshan had already moved. Ong! Ong! Dragons roar and elephants trumpet. The intertwined sounds rang out in the surroundings without warning. Fong Qingshan took a step forward, and his body seemed to be shining with golden light. His qi and blood flowed, and everyone could faintly hear the sound of flowing water. The air seemed to be scorching hot. The reason why he wanted to fight with the old monk was to prove the dragon-elephant prajna technique and cultivate faster. Naturally, when the battle started, he gave up his inner force, northern underworld divine technique, Tianshan 6 yang palm, and even heaven and earth great shift in Taiji fist. He only used the dragon-elephant prajna technique to deal with the old monk. Fong Qingshan completely immersed himself in the dragon-elephant prajna technique. He visualized the dragon-elephant diagram in his mind, circulated the dragon-elephant technique in his body, and comprehended the dragon-elephant will in his heart. Boom! He punched out, and the sound of thunder rumbled. Other than Taiji fist, Fong Qingshan didn't know any fist techniques. He only used a simple punch, a basic fist technique like Arhut fist and Taizu's long fist. However, this punch contained an unparalleled fist intent. That was the dragon-elephant divine will that he cultivated in the dragon-elephant prajna technique. The dragon soared into the 4 seas, and the elephant suppressed the earth. Although it was a simple punch, because of the strength of the dragon-elephant, it had the might of the 18 subduing dragon palms. At this moment, Fong Qingshan was completely immersed in the concept of the dragon-elephant prajna technique. With an indomitable momentum, he punched out with an invincible and unstoppable momentum. Everyone present, other than Eunuch Li, even Morong Bo, Xiao Yuanshan, and the others changed their expressions when they faced Fong Qingshan's punch. Facing this punch, their only hope was to escape far away. Otherwise, if they really fought, the best result would be heavy injuries. As for the old monk, his expression didn't change at all when he faced Fong Qingshan's terrifying punch. He lowered his white eyebrows and closed his eyes. He actually sat down cross-legged, as if he didn't have any opponent and was praying to Buddha in the temple. He chanted Buddhist scriptures, and a meter-long qi wall came out of his body and surrounded him. Fong Qingshan's boundless fists smashed into the qi wall. It was like a gentle breeze ruffling a pond of spring water, causing a few ripples. The power melted bit by bit, like a clay ox entering the sea, disappearing without a trace. Fong Qingshan wasn't surprised by this, nor did he care. This battle wasn't about victory or defeat, it wasn't about success or failure. There was no life or death, only verification. Therefore, after one punch, another punch followed, and another punch followed by another. Boom! 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 It was like he was using the 18 dragon subduing palms with Qiao Feng in one go. His aura was accumulating, his fist force was increasing, and his might was exploding. Fang Qingshan didn't stop punching. The more he punched, the smoother his breathing became. His internal organs and limbs felt extremely comfortable, as if they had been reconstructed. Even the injury on his arm that was heavily injured by Eunuch Li was faintly starting to recover. Damn it! Seeing this scene, Eunuch Li's expression started to change. He could feel that every time Fang Qingshan punched, his arm would tremble slightly. His face would turn paler. It was obvious that this kind of attack consumed a lot of his energy. But more importantly, every time he punched, his face would turn paler, but his eyes would shine brighter. Eunuch Li finally understood why Fang Qingshan did it despite knowing that it was impossible. It wasn't because of his face, but because he was actually using the old monk as a whetstone to hone his martial arts. Once he succeeded, Fang Qingshan's cultivation would definitely break through again. Next time, Eunuch Li might not be his match. Moreover, Fang Qingshan was still so young, while he was already old. How could this make Eunuch Li happy? Of course, among the people present, only a few could see through Fang Qingshan's intentions. Most people shook their heads, feeling that he was just putting up a last-ditch struggle. Chapter 76. Time passed bit by bit, and Fang Qingshan had already punched the old monk hundreds of times. Every punch was deafening like the sound of a great bell. But although the bell hammer was loud, how could it break the bell? Although the old monk did not make a single move, Fang Qingshan not only did not gain the slightest advantage, but he was also exhausted, sweating, pale, and even his footsteps were a little shaky. Young Master Duan, young master will be fine. Seeing that Fang Qingshan's state seemed to be a little wrong, Abai couldn't help but ask worriedly. Senior brother is fine. Duan Yu shook his head. At this moment, he also saw that his senior brother was not doing useless work, but using the old monk's hands to polish his martial arts, so he comforted him. Don't worry, it's going to be over soon. After 100 punches, Fang Qingshan's fist power was indomitable at first, and when it reached a peak, it began to go downhill, but the momentum was condensed little by little, becoming more and more powerful. Finally, at a certain moment, Fang Qingshan's momentum condensed to the limit, and the fist power that was originally low to the extreme rose rapidly. For a time, Fang Qingshan's whole person seemed to grow taller out of thin air, and his whole person was like a god or a demon. 5 dragons and 5 elephants could be faintly seen lingering around him, changing unpredictably. Fang Qingshan's eyes were dull, and he punched out, as if it was purely instinctive. Slow. Very slow. It was as if Fang Qingshan was doing Tai Chi, and everyone could see it clearly. But no one underestimated this punch, whether it was someone as powerful as Eunuch Li or a passerby with no vision. They all saw that Fang Qingshan's punch was like a dragon, like an elephant, like a mountain. Fang Qingshan's 5 fingers clenched into a fist, and his fist glowed with golden light. The dragon's horn and elephant's trunk condensed into one, and as Fang Qingshan's fist fell, it was like Mount Tai was pressing down, with great power and momentum, and it was indestructible. Ka ka ka! For the first time, the old monk's 3-foot chi wall made a sound of being overwhelmed, and the originally brilliant chi wall began to spread like a spider web. Seeing this scene, the old monk couldn't help but let out a light cry, and there was a look of appreciation in his eyes. At first, he didn't know why Fang Qingshan made such a simple request, but as Fang Qingshan's attack became stronger and stronger, the old monk realized that Fang Qingshan wanted him to be a whetstone. In this regard, as long as the crisis of Shaolin Temple could be resolved, the old monk naturally had no objections. Therefore, he directly released a 3-foot wall of qi, ignored Fang Qingshan's attack, and focused on chanting Buddhist scriptures. In his opinion, even though Fang Qingshan was strong, there was still a gap between him and Fang Qingshan for now. Although he had exhausted all his strength after this punch, and had become a fish on the chopping board, he had clearly achieved his goal of tempering himself by being able to throw out such a powerful punch. The old monk slowly stood up, and the originally broken chi wall instantly became whole again. Fong Shan, who had made the last punch, came back to his senses, but he didn't care about the outcome at all. He recalled for a while and couldn't help but smile. Fighting was indeed the best teacher. Through the fight with Eunuch Lee, especially the old monk, Fong Shan's dragon elephant prajna art had been sharpened like never before. Although he hadn't practiced it yet, Fong Shan knew that even if he didn't practice the heaven and earth great shift, the cultivation time of the 6th level of the dragon elephant prajna art would be greatly reduced. Fong Shan punched more than 100 times, especially the last punch, which consumed a lot of essence, qi, and spirit. Now that he relaxed, he staggered and almost fell to the ground. The old monk waved his hand, and a force of qi steadily lifted him up. "Young master, are you okay?" A Zhu, a Bai, and Duan Yu saw that Fong Shan almost fell to the ground. Their hearts tightened, and they hurriedly ran over to support him. "Thank you, master." Fong Shan waved his hand and bowed respectfully to the old monk. "Forget it. It's also an opportunity for you." The old monk smiled faintly. "Almsgiver, Shaolin is a peaceful place of Buddhism. Please go back." After dealing with Fong Shan, the old monk turned his head and said to Eunuch Lee. Just now, when he saw that Fong Shan was exhausted, Eunuch Lee almost couldn't resist the urge to make a move. Fong Shan was so young, but his cultivation was already so high. If he was allowed to grow, Eunuch Lee could hardly imagine what could suppress him. What he wanted to do the most was to wipe out the threat and germinate. Unfortunately, reality didn't allow it. The old monk didn't allow him to be killed in Shaolin, and naturally, he wouldn't allow him to kill Fong Shan. After all, he had the imperial court behind him, and Fong Shan also had the carefree faction behind him. Although it was somewhat inappropriate to compare a sect to a country, if a country wasn't on the brink of life and death, there would still be various compromises, while a sect paid more attention to individual will. Once Fong Shan was killed in Shaolin, one could imagine the anger of Wu Yazi and the others. Even if the old monk was here, Shaolin Temple was definitely not better than provoking the imperial court. Good. Since it couldn't be disobeyed, Eunuch Lee didn't hesitate. He bowed to the old monk, then turned around and left. This time, Murong Bo and the others could only watch him disappear into the sky. Almsgiver said that he still has a martial art to consult. I wonder what it is. After sending Eunuch Lee away, the old monk couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Fong Shan and Eunuch Lee were simply two tigers that couldn't live on the same mountain. It was very easy for them to misfire. While relaxing, the old monk couldn't help but be curious. Fong Shan wasn't someone without a background. Behind him stood Wu Yazi and the other two peerless experts. What kind of martial art couldn't they teach him? Why did he still need to consult the old monk? "Master, this isn't the place to talk. Let's go somewhere else." Fong Shan looked around and said to the old monk with a smile, "It's this old monk's fault. Almsgiver, please follow me to the sutra depository." The old monk was stunned for a moment. Then he said with a smile. Then, after bowing to Xian Ci, he brought Fong Shan and instantly disappeared in front of everyone. Murong Bo and Xiao Yuanshan both glanced at each other before concealing themselves. Shaolin was originally prepared to show off their might through Gusu's Murong clan, but they didn't expect that before the hero assembly even started, it was already out of their control. Fortunately, Shaolin's goal was achieved today. With the old monk here, Shaolin had a strong backing, and even the imperial court wouldn't casually punish Shaolin. Since Shaolin didn't pursue the matter, Murong Fu naturally wouldn't have any opinion. Even the main characters of the hero assembly didn't want to pursue the matter. Although it was a bit anticlimactic and others inevitably felt a bit regretful, but after seeing Fong Shan, Eunuch Lee, Duan Yu, Xiao Yuanshan, Murong Bo, Murong Fu, and the others in action, it was enough for them to brag for a while. Chapter 77. Guoming Peak. Icy Azure Pond. It was empty, with white smoke curling up in spirals. The cold air condensed into smoke, and the surrounding area was covered with a thin layer of white frost. Near the pond sat a man. If one did not pay attention, one would think that he was an ice sculpture. This man was Fong Shan. More than half a year had passed since the Shaolin Heroes competition. Fang Qingshan left the Shaolin Temple after learning about the Dragon Elephant Prajna skill from the monk. He could not wait to find a place to make a breakthrough. After all, he did not have much time left. However, the breakthrough to the 6th level of the Dragon Elephant Prajna skill could not be completed in a short time. Moreover, he had Fang Shu, who was a burden, by his side. As the saying goes, help a person to the end. This was the second time he had met Fang Shu, which meant that there was some fate between them. Moreover, this time, Ouyang Jing was not by Fang Shu's side. After thinking about it, Fang Qingshan decided to send Fang Shu back to the western region to find a place to make a breakthrough. The cunning rabbit had 3 points. The power of the Manichaeism in Jiangnan had been eradicated by the imperial court. However, there was still another power in the western region, which was the future Guangming peak of the Ming cult. Originally, Fang Qingshan wanted to send Fang Shu to Guangming Peak and then leave. Unfortunately, he was gone. Although Fang Shu was Fang La's son, Guangming Peak was far away from Jiangnan. Moreover, Fang La was dead. Who would be willing to listen to a little boy's orders? Fang Qingshan had no choice but to help Fang Shu stabilize the situation again. After all, he had saved Fang Shu's life twice, so one more time did not matter. As the son of a rebel, Fang Shu was not a person who did not know anything. He knew that he had no strength, no prestige, and was still young. Although he had a legitimate identity, he was not a prince. If he wanted to establish a foothold in Guangming Peak and even use the Ming cult as his own, the only way was to find a backer. At this moment, who was more suitable than Fang Qingshan? Therefore, he directly knelt in front of Fang Qingshan, wanting to be his disciple. Seeing this, Fang Qingshan did not hesitate much. After thinking about it, he accepted him. There were many reasons. First of all, he had already deterred the Ming cult, so as long as he was there, no one would dare to act rashly. It would not be too troublesome and direct, and it would not affect his practice. Second, he suddenly thought that there was a place in Guangming Peak that was actually very suitable for his practice. That was the Azure Frost Pond. This place froze the water into ice all year round, and cold smoke rose from all directions. Not to mention ordinary people, even a first-rate expert without a pure yang skill would not be able to endure staying here for a while. For a body tempering technique like the Dragon Elephant Prajna art, one could actually make use of various extreme environments to speed up their cultivation, and the icy Azure Pond was undoubtedly one of them. Secondly, it was fate. After all, he had saved Fang Shu's life many times. When he had brought Fang Shu to the west, he had sensed that Fang Shu wasn't a bad person. He came to the celestial dragon world not only to make use of time to break through his cultivation, but also to collect fate. Originally, he had only wanted to become the carefree faction leader and gather the carefree faction's luck. He had done it, but it was only a one-time thing. Because he had not stayed in Dragon outside for long, people had forgotten about him. Or if the sect leader had been changed, the luck would not be gathered. But today, Fang Shu's apprenticeship had given him another ray of hope. Fang Shu was the sect leader of Mani cult. If he became Fang Qingshan's disciple, Fang Qingshan would naturally get a share of the luck. Although Mani cult was not as powerful as before, it was still a force. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Moreover, Fang Qingshan had thought of a way. Even if he left Dragon World, as long as someone remembered him, he could still collect the luck. Fang Qingshan had understood this from Buddhism and Taoism. Didn't the bodhisattvas collect the luck so that people could build temples and worship them? In the future, as long as someone worshipped him, he could naturally continue to enjoy the luck. To achieve this, he needed someone to promote it. Fang Shu was the person that Fang Qingshan had chosen. Fang Shu had seen how powerful Fang Qingshan was. When Fang Qingshan left, he would show his divinity again. He was not afraid that Fang Qingshan would not worship him like the venerated Ming. The Ming cult's strength was not weak. At the end of the Song dynasty, Zhu Yuanzong even used the Ming cult's strength to change the world. If the Ming cult could take this opportunity to unify the country and worship him like Buddhism and Taoism, it would be a great luck. Of course, Fang Qingshan's thoughts were beautiful. As for whether he could succeed or not, he could only do his best and leave it to the heavens. If he succeeded, he would be overjoyed and gain a lot. If he failed, it was fine. He could just treat it as a game of chess. That was why a teacher had to teach and solve doubts. Since he had accepted Feng Shui as his disciple, Feng Qingshan naturally would not leave him alone. Therefore, while practicing the dragon-elephant prajna art in the icy azure pond, he taught Feng Shui how to cultivate. As Feng La's son, Feng Shui had been eating all kinds of elixirs since he was young, so he had a good foundation. With Feng Qingshan's guidance and the dark north divine art he practiced, Feng Shui's cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. Although he could not compare to Feng Qingshan's meteoric rise, after half a year, Feng Shui, who was originally weak and powerless, had successfully become a third-rate fighter. This was under the premise that Feng Qingshan did not let him use the dark north divine art to absorb other people's internal energy. Absorbing other people's inner force, especially when one had just started cultivating, might improve by leaps and bounds, but the gains would not make up for the losses. Tap, tap, tap. A series of footsteps came and stopped in the distance. The person who came was Feng Shui. The icy azure pond had become the Ming cult's forbidden area. Apart from Feng Shui, no one else could come. The cold air in the icy azure pond was too strong, and Feng Shui could not stand it. Moreover, he respected Feng Qingshan and did not want to disturb him, so he stood at a distance. After a while, there was a cracking sound. Feng Qingshan broke out of the ice and roared at the sky. It was like a tiger's roar or a dragon's roar. His entire body seemed to be covered in a layer of golden light. He looked dazzling and dignified. "Sure, why are you here so early today?" Seeing Feng Shui retreat under his aura, Feng Qingshan stopped and asked with a smile. "Congratulations on improving, Master." Feng Shui replied with a smile. Feng Shui replied with a grin, then said, "The people from Spirit Vulture Palace, Class 1 Hall, and the senior brothers from the 8 Friends of Hango have arrived." "Oh, so fast?" Feng Qingshan raised his eyebrows. "Since they're here, let's go meet them." As he spoke, Feng Qingshan took a step forward and came to Feng Shui's side. He placed a hand on Feng Shui's shoulder, and in a flash, he was already 100 feet away. Chapter 78. Radiance Peak, Meeting Hall. It was bustling with activity, but it was filled with people. However, the people standing here today were not from the Radiance Peak Ming cult, but from Spirit Vulture Palace, Class 1 Hall, and Carefree Sect. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of footsteps could be heard, and the noisy crowd instantly quietened down. Seeing Feng Qingshan walk out with Feng Shui, everyone's eyes were filled with fervor and respect. Although Shaolin was weak in this generation, it was still one of the few famous sects in the world. The Heroes Conference had attracted almost everyone's attention, and the events that happened there were naturally noticed by the world. Half a year had passed, and the events of that day had naturally spread far and wide. Among them, Feng Qingshan was the most praised. He had already gained some fame at Virtuous Manor, and after the Shaolin Heroes Conference, he became even more famous. Feng Qingshan was not only powerful, but he was also the sect master of Carefree Sect, the supremacy of Spirit Vulture Palace, and the person in charge of Class 1 Hall. Naturally, he won everyone's fervent and respectful gazes. "Greetings, Sect Master. I save the supremacy." "Greetings, Hall Master." The moment Feng Qingshan sat down, a tsunami of greetings rang out. Those who addressed him as Sect Master were naturally the 8 Friends of Hangu. Those who addressed him as Supremacy were undoubtedly from Spirit Vulture Palace, and those who addressed him as Hall Master were those from Class 1 Hall. "All right, everyone, please rise." Feng Qingshan waved his hand, not saying anything else. Instead, he asked Granny Yu of Spirit Vulture Palace. "Granny, are Martial Uncle's injuries better?" "Thank you for your concern, Supremacy. Old Master is much better, but he still needs some time to recover," Granny Yu replied respectfully. "That's good." Feng Qingshan nodded, then asked the 8 Friends of Hango, "How is Master?" In reply to Martial Uncle, Grandmaster is doing well. We were all happy for you when we heard of your prowess in Shaolin, Kong Guangling said with a smile. After some small talk, Fong Qingshan said, "Do you know why I gathered all of you here today?" Granny Yu, Helian Taishu, Kong Guangling, and the others looked at each other and shook their heads. Actually, it's nothing much. I just want to introduce someone to you and ask for a favor. Looking at the confused crowd, Fong Qingshan said with a smile, "Sect Master / High Lord / Hall Master, please instruct us." Everyone said in unison, "Sure, come here." Fong Qingshan nodded his head and beckoned to Fong Shu, who was standing at the side. "Let me introduce you all. This is Fong Shu, the son of Fong La, the former cult master of the Mani cult, and the current cult master of the Ming cult," Fong Qingshan said with a smile. "Of course, he's also my disciple, the third-generation disciple of the Xiaoyao sect." "Come." Shu greets Granny Yu, General Helian, and Senior Marshal Brother Kong. "Greetings to Granny Yu, Icy Jade Pond, Senior Marshal Brother Kong, Senior Marshal Brother Shui." Fong Shu greeted everyone one by one. Everyone's reciprocation showed that the situation was different. Granny Yu and the others called Fong Shu Young High Lord, not daring to accept the greeting. Helian Taishu returned the greeting, neither servile nor overbearing. Kong Guangling and the others accepted Fong Shu's greeting calmly, their expressions somewhat cordial. The reason for this was because of the structure of the three factions. Spirit Vulture Palace was single-handedly created by Heaven Mountain Tong Lao. The words of the High Lord were the highest authority, and the disciple of the High Lord would naturally be the next High Lord. This was without a doubt. Kong Guangling and the others, on the other hand, came from the same sect as Fong Shu, so there was no difference between them. While Class 1 Hall was created by Li Qiushui, it was not a sect of the pugilistic world, but a force of the imperial court. Although they listened to Fong Qingshan's orders, they only listened to his orders. Fong Shu was only his disciple. Forget taking over. Even if he wanted to win their respect, he had to do something. The reason why they accepted Fong Qingshan so easily, aside from Li Qiushui's orders, was because during the battle at Shaolin, Fong Qingshan had shown them his skills, which convinced them wholeheartedly. Fong Qingshan saw all this, but he did not care. The reason why he gathered these people here today was because of the second thing he was about to say. Aside from letting you meet him, there is one more thing. After they finished speaking, Fong Qingshan continued, "I am going to pass the position of Carefree Sect leader to Fong Shu, and I hope that you can help him in the future." Fong Qingshan was about to leave Sky Dragon Sect, and the position of Carefree Sect leader was no longer useful to him, so he needed to find a successor, and as his disciple, Fong Shu was naturally the successor. Even without Fong Qingshan's interference, the Ming cult would still take over the world in the future, and it would help Zhu Yuanzong unify the world. Now that Fong Qingshan had passed the power of Carefree Sect to Fong Shu, he hoped to speed up the process. And the final goal was to collect luck for him. Of course, if Fong Shu wanted to be accepted by the Ming cult, Carefree Sect, and even the world, and become worshipped like immortals, aside from Fong Shu's firm promotion, he also needed to show his holiness. This was also the reason why Fong Qingshan gathered the people from the three branches. Perhaps what Fong Qingshan said was too unbelievable, but when Fong Shu finished speaking, Granny Yu and the others could not help but look at each other at a loss. Fong Qingshan had just become Carefree Sect's sect leader, Spirit Vulture Palace's paragon, and the person in charge of Elite Hall. Yet in less than half a year, he was going to pass the position to an unknown and younger disciple. Although this person was Fong La's son and the Ming cult's cult master, it was clear that it was difficult for others to believe him immediately. Based on the fact that Fong Shu was Fong La's son and the Ming cult's rightful successor, Fong Qingshan did not want them to accept him immediately. He just informed them beforehand so that they would know about this matter. "Master!" Fong Shu originally did not know why Fong Qingshan gathered the people from Carefree Sect. When he heard Fong Qingshan's words, he was instantly moved. Not only did Fong Shu save his life, but he also helped him secure his position as the Ming cult's cult master, took him in as a disciple, and now wanted to pass Carefree Sect to him. Fong Shu could not help but choke with emotion. Fong Qingshan patted Fong Shu's head and comforted him. Then he smiled and said to Granny Yu and the others, "I won't be in this world for long, so I must pass down the position of sect leader. As my disciple, Feng Shu will not pass on this responsibility. As for whether he is up to the task, once he has mastered his skills, Master and the others will test him. Before that, I hope that you can protect him." In the end, Feng Shu was still too young. If he wanted to grow, he would need some time. Furthermore, Feng Shu could no longer stay in Heavenly Dragon City. Hence, he did not bring Carefree Sect here just to achieve his goal. He also wanted to balance the Ming cult's strength and protect Feng Shu. Hence, Granny Yu and the others stayed at Light Summit so that Feng Shu could get to know them better. They also waited for Feng Qingshan's time in Heavenly Dragon City to come to an end. When he became an immortal and appeared before the saints, it would be easier for Feng Shu to do things in the future. Chapter 79. The flowers in the forest withered and the flowers in the spring bloomed. The cold rain came in the morning and the wind came in the evening. 3 months had passed since Granny Yu and the others arrived at Guangming Peak. At this moment, Feng Qingshan did not have much time left. The 5th level of the Dragon Elephant Prajna technique had reached the final stage. Icy Azure Lake. At this moment, Feng Qingshan was no longer sitting on the side of the lake, but was directly in the water. In the past, Feng Qingshan was like an ice sculpture. But now he was an ice sculpture. Even so, this was only on the surface. Under the ice, Feng Qingshan's body was shining with golden light. He looked solemn like a Buddha. There was a faint light flowing on his face. Every breath he took was like the roar of a dragon or the trumpet of an elephant. The dark north vital energy slowly turned into golden dragon elephant vital energy. Not only was it more condensed and strong, but it was also more agile. It was like his own arm. After all, this was what he had painstakingly cultivated. Together with the chill of the icy azure lake that had been silent for many years, it was like water and air, pervasive and slowly tempered the bones, muscles, organs, and organs of his body. Dong! 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 At a certain moment, there was a sound of bells and drums, like thunder. Crack, crack! The ice on Feng Qingshan's body, which was harder than ordinary swords and armor, instantly shattered like a spider web. Bang! Feng Qingshan soared into the sky, stirring up a wave. His whole body was like the rising sun, shining with a bright light. The vigorous blood and qi were burning, and the magnetic field of his life essence was tyrannical to an extremely terrifying degree. It was as if he was no longer a human, but a fierce beast. At this moment, Feng Qingshan's skin was faintly glowing with a golden light. There was a dense mist surrounding his face, and a burning aura was emitted from his body. It was full of coldness, and the frozen lake water actually turned into smoke. I've finally mastered the 6th level. Feng Qingshan slowly moved his body, and suddenly there was a series of sounds. He sensed the changes in his body. The Dragon Elephant Prajna technique was indeed worthy of being called the heavens for each level. His body was like an oven, blazing and strong. His thoughts were clear, and he could see everything clearly. His qi and blood were like mercury, every drop of it condensed. Although the northern dark innate qi had been almost consumed, Feng Qingshan did not feel any heartache at all. His body refining technique was invincible in the same realm. Although he did not continue to break through and reach the realm of Wu Yizi or the Sweeping Monk, with his Dragon Elephant Prajna art at the 6th level, he could at least gain the upper hand against Eunuch Li, Wu Xingyun, and Li Qiushui. Sigh, I'm finally leaving. Counting with his fingers, it was almost time. Feng Qingshan couldn't help but sigh. The 3 years were almost up. Lai Tianlong's goal had been achieved, and it could be said that he had accomplished his mission. The only thing that worried Feng Qingshan was Feng Shu, and whether his method of gathering fate was effective. In the end, Feng Shu was his disciple. Although his motive for taking him in as a disciple was not pure, he was not a plant and could not be emotionless. After spending so much time with him, he naturally became more sincere. Fortunately, his cultivation was steadily improving, and the strength of the Carefree faction and the Ming cult was balanced. And even if he left, there was still Wu Yizi and the other two to support him. Therefore, Fang Qingshan was not very worried about him. As for the method of gathering fate, Fang Qingshan could only do his best and leave it to fate. After all, the plan could never keep up with the changes. After leaving the icy azure pool, Fang Qingshan called Fang Shu into the secret room, intending to do one last thing for him. Master, Fang Shu obviously felt something, and he was a little anxious. After experiencing the death of his parents, the destruction of the cult, being chased, and his life hanging by a thread, and even the betrayal of his subordinates, Fang Qingshan was already his only family. At this moment, Fang Shu did not know whether it was a sixth sense or something, but he faintly felt that Fang Qingshan seemed to be leaving him. For a moment, he could not help but feel a little hesitant and confused. Okay, sit cross-legged. Looking at Fang Shu, who was like a child, Fang Qingshan's heart could not help but soften. But after all, he did not belong to this world. Fang Shu did as he was told, and sat cross-legged in front of Fang Qingshan. Buzz! The next moment, a pair of palms were placed on his back, and a pure inner force slowly passed through the palms. Fang Shu's heart palpitated. Not only did he activate the Dark North Divine skill, but he also operated it on his own, wanting to swallow all the invading genuine qi. Concentrate and calm your qi. Fang Qingshan's voice was like a great bell, ringing in Fang Shu's ears. Then a strong momentum instantly suppressed the restless inner force in Fang Shu's body. Then, the inner force that invaded Fang Shu's meridians and bones bit by bit. The Dragon-Elephant Prajna technique had broken through the 6th level, and the remaining Dark North True Qi was already of little value to Fang Qingshan. It was tasteless, but it was a pity to throw it away. It was just right to help Fang Shu. However, he did not let Fang Shu directly swallow this inner force, because this inner force was cultivated by Wu Yizi, swallowed, and passed on to Fang Qingshan. Although it looked very pure, it was somewhat mixed in nature. Because Fang Shu cultivated the Dark North Divine skill, Fang Qingshan did not want him to take a shortcut. After a while, as soon as Fang Qingshan stopped, Fang Shu could not wait to turn around and looked at him with a face full of worry and anxiety. Okay, don't worry, I just used the excess inner force in my body to wash your body. This is also the last thing I, an incompetent master, do for you. Fang Qingshan waved his hand and interrupted Fang Shu, who was about to speak. All right, master, I don't have much time left in this world. Listen to what I'm about to say. The next day, when the sun rose in the east and a new day began, Fang Qingshan brought the muddle-headed Fang Shu out of the secret room. He gathered Granny Yu, the people of the Xiaoyao sect, and the people of the Ming cult at the Bright Peak. Granny Yu, General Helian, Marshal Nephew Kong, left emissary Shiman. Fang Qingshan's gaze swept over everyone. I am leaving. I hope that you can help Shu well in the future. Granny Yu, General Helian, Marshal Nephew Kong, please apologize to Master, Marshal Uncle, and Marshal Uncle for me. Just say that this disciple is unfilial and that I cannot serve them in the future. I hope that they will take care of Shu for my sake. When he said this, Fang Shu immediately burst into tears. The others also looked at each other. This seemed to be a funeral. Granny Yu, General Helian, Marshal Nephew Kong, left emissary Shiman, and the others looked at each other. They wanted to say something, but did not know what to say. However, Fang Qingshan did not care about this. After he finished speaking, he looked at Fang Shu lovingly. With a thought, a chessboard slowly rose above his head. In the blink of an eye, heavenly maidens scattered flowers and celestial music filled the air. The chess piece belonging to the heavenly dragon suddenly shone with boundless light. With a shake of its body, it transformed into a resplendent door. Fang Qingshan looked at the dumbfounded Fang Shu and the others, then took a step forward and disappeared. It was as if he had ascended to immortality. Chapter 80. Sigh. Tomorrow is the deadline of 3 months. Why isn't that kid here yet? Fang Zeshan paced back and forth in the meeting hall of the Wanxiang Garden. He looked anxious, In the beginning, he did not agree to Fang Qingshan using up the outer disciple quota that Fang Qingxue had obtained with great difficulty. However, this was because he felt that giving it to Fang Qingshan would be a complete waste as there was no chance of success. At this time, he naturally prioritized the interests of the family. However, 3 months ago, Fang Qingshan left behind a letter and gave him a glimmer of hope. No parent would not think of their children. Since there was hope, they naturally hoped that the benefits would fall on their children. However, the agreed deadline of 3 months was tomorrow. If Fang Qingshan still did not appear, he would not be able to get a spot as an outer disciple. Second brother, don't worry. Perhaps Qingshan is already on his way back. Fang Zitao couldn't help but shake his head when he saw his second brother, who would usually remain calm even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, become restless at this moment. However, he also understood his second brother's love for his son. Fang Qingshan was congenitally deficient, and Fang Zeshan did not have much hope for him. However, he had given him hope 3 months ago and naturally cherished this opportunity. After all, although he was only an outer disciple, he was an outer disciple of the immortal sect of emergence. The reason why the Fang clan had such a status was that even the emperor of the Dali kingdom had to curry favor with Fang Qingxue and made her a princess was because she was a true disciple of the celestial sect of Yuhua. Back then, Fang Qingxue had also climbed up step by step from an outer disciple. Perhaps. Fang Zeshan nodded, but he still looked out the door from time to time. Seeing this, Fang Qingxue could not help but shake her head. She scanned with her divine telekinesis, and the surrounding 100 miles of the Wanxiang Garden appeared in her mind like a holographic projection. Fang Qingxue suddenly exclaimed, "Big sister, what's wrong? Is third brother back?" Fang Qingwei hurriedly asked. Fang Zeshan and Fang Zitao looked over at the same time. "No." Fang Qingxue shook her head. Instantly, the little bit of joy that had just risen disappeared without a trace. However, I saw something interesting. Fang Qingxue ignored the expressions of the three and left the meeting hall in a flash. At this moment, on the banks of the Dragon Abyss, amidst the thicket of reeds, accompanied by the resplendent river of stars and the surging river water, a figure that was as still as a pine tree and as swift as a crane could be seen. This person was Fang Han. Ever since he obtained the golden elixir of 9 orifices, Fang Han's skills had improved by leaps and bounds. Compared to him, Fang Qingshan paled in comparison. It took Fang Qingshan 3 years to advance from the hardness and gentleness realm to the divine valor realm. Fang Han, on the other hand, only took 3 months to cultivate to the 5th level of divine power. His feet were like pine trees that were rooted to the ground, unmoving like a mountain. His 5 fingers were like crane claws, fierce and fierce. With a casual claw, the surrounding reeds would collapse. The air was torn apart, emitting a heart-wrenching sound that transmitted into the distance. It was extremely sharp. The 10,000 pines and crane's longevity fist. Not bad. I didn't think there would be a genius like you among the servants of the Fang clan. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang in Fang Han's ears. It scared him so much that he felt a chill run down his spine. Looking back, he saw a person who looked like a fairy from the Moon Palace standing in the air, her clothes fluttering in the wind. "Greetings, young mistress." Although Fang Han had never seen Fang Qingxue before, he immediately guessed the identity of the person who had come. Ordinary people who learn martial arts in secret would either turn around and run or kneel down and beg for mercy when faced with the master. However, Fang Han was not at a loss. Instead, he appeared to be neither servile nor overbearing. Although he was a servant, he had his own demeanor, which made Fang Qingxue curious. "You're not afraid of me?" The voice was calm and emotionless. "The Fang clan has always been fair with rewards and punishments. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I be afraid of young mistress?" Fang Han asked instead of answering. "Learning martial arts in secret doesn't count?" Fang Qingxue said coldly. "Young mistress, I didn't learn martial arts in secret. Third young master taught it to me." Fang Han could not help but let out a sigh of relief. The reason why he was not afraid of Fang Qingxue was not, because Bai Haichan was certain that Fang Qingxue could see his abnormality at a glance and use him for her own use. After all, at this time, she could either love him or kill him. The reason why he was at ease was because Fang Qingshan had promised him that if he was discovered, he could say his name. Oh, it's third young master. Fang Qingxue raised her eyebrows. She did not expect Fang Han to be Fang Qingshan's man. She was not afraid that Fang Han would lie to her. Firstly, it was not easy to lie in front of her and not be discovered by her. Secondly, it was easy to find out if he was telling the truth. As for taking the opportunity to escape, that was too naive. Since third young master taught you martial arts, why did you hide in the suburbs to secretly practice? Fang Qingxue asked. It's because, you're back? Fang Han was about to answer when he heard Fang Qingxue's surprised voice. Her face showed a hint of interest, and before he finished speaking, Fang Qingxue disappeared. Fang Han saw this and could not help but blink. At the same time, in the Rain Admiration Pavilion, in Fang Qingshan's room, a space tunnel appeared out of thin air. Fang Qingshan took a step out and staggered, almost falling to the ground. Phew, I'm finally back. Looking at the identical room, Fang Qingshan could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Third young master is finally back. Then a ghostly voice sounded behind Fang Qingshan, giving him a fright. He instinctively wanted to defend himself. It's big sister. Seeing that the person who came was Fang Qingxue, Fang Qingshan relaxed a little and subconsciously rolled his eyes. She scared him to death. Big sister, why are you here? Fang Qingshan could not help but ask. I felt a fluctuation in the space and knew you were back, so I came to take a look. With that, Fang Qingxue looked Fang Qingshan up and down for a while. Hearing this, Fang Qingshan could not help but tremble. He did not expect that Fang Qingxue could sense the spatial fluctuation caused by the all-heaven chessboard traveling through the world. What if it was someone else? Thinking of this, Fang Qingshan's face could not help but turn ugly. In the end, he was still too inexperienced. Fang Qingxue seemed to know what Fang Qingshan was thinking and said lightly, "It doesn't matter what treasure third young master obtained or what other opportunities he had. Before you have the ability to protect yourself, you still have to be careful. Otherwise, if the scoundrels find out, I'm afraid there will be problems." Thank you for the reminder, big sister. I understand. Fang Qingshan saw that Fang Qingxue didn't ask about his fortuitous encounter. He let out a sigh of relief and quickly thanked her. Chapter 81. The corners of Fang Qingxue's lips curled up. It was impossible for her not to be curious about Fang Qingshan's fortuitous encounter. To be able to cure Fang Qingshan's congenital weakness, to be able to create spatial fluctuations, to be able to come and go without a trace, to allow Fang Qingshan to advance from the tough softness realm to the godly courage realm in just 3 months. Moreover, his foundation was solid, even better than some of the outer disciples of the immortal sect of Yuhua. Such a fortuitous encounter was definitely not a small one. However, on the path of cultivation, who didn't have any fortuitous encounters? Although she didn't believe in the saying that what was meant to be in one's life, what was not meant to be forced, Fang Qingshan was one of them after all. If he didn't say it, Fang Qingxue wouldn't force him either. Second uncle was very worried when you were away for 3 months. He was still anxious just now. Go and see him, Fang Qingxue said. Get ready. I'll be returning to the mountain tomorrow. Yes. Fang Qingshan nodded. Seeing that Fang Qingxue was about to leave, Fang Qingshan quickly said, Big sister, I'm going to bring someone to the sect of Yuhua. Is it the kid that you taught him to the longevity pine crane fist? Fang Qingxue raised an eyebrow. Big sister knows about it? Fang Qingshan didn't expect Fang Qingxue to notice Fang Han. When I was sensing if you're back, I saw someone practicing secretly beside the Longyuan River. Fang Qingxue explained briefly. Oh, I see. Fang Qingshan nodded and said, It's him, big sister. Can I? Sure. Fang Qingxue naturally didn't reject Fang Qingshan's request. After all, even though the immortal sect of Yuhua was a blessed land, the cave abode still needed someone to take care of it. Even though Fang Qingshan didn't have the right to use a servant, Fang Qingxue had an independent mountain, and it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate 1 or 2 servants. Moreover, even though it was just a glance, Fang Qingxue was very impressed with Fang Qingshan's gaze. He was just a servant with no background and no resources. Just by relying on the 10,000 pines and Crane's longevity fist, he had actually cultivated to the God Force realm. Moreover, he was not old. He did have some talent and could be used. Cultivation was not about standing aloof from worldly affairs, nor was it about being free and unfettered. One still needed disciples to work for them. If Fang Han was of great use, he would be given an opportunity in the future. If he wasn't, it was not a big deal to have another servant. On the second day, the sky was still dark, and there were still wisps of mist lingering between the cracks of the rocks. The entire Garden of Nature began to move. However, this time, the commotion was not caused by the disciples of the Fang clan practicing their martial arts. Instead, it was caused by the crowd escorting the Fang clan's young miss back to the clan. The public square in front of the Fang family's main gate was currently a boiling cauldron of voices. It was noisy, but it was not messy. All the servants were performing their duties under the arrangements of the stewards, and it seemed to be exceptionally orderly. Carriages were lined up in a long line. They were loaded with gold, silver, and jewels, wealth, companions, techniques, and land. The most important thing for cultivation was wealth. The poor were scholars, and the rich were martial artists. Cultivation also consumed resources. Without resources, it was impossible to continue. Many well-equipped warriors and servants were also quietly standing on the sides of the carriages, waiting for orders. On this trip to the emergent sect, be careful. Listen to your elder sister, and don't embarrass the Fang clan. Fang Zeshan looked at Fang Qingshan. He had thousands of words to say, but in the end, there was only one sentence left in his throat. Father, don't worry. Qingshan will be fine. You also have to take care of yourself. Although Fang Qingshan did not have any feelings for Fang Zeshan, he had inherited Fang Zeshan's body, so he naturally had to bear the karma. He bowed respectfully towards Fang Zeshan. After a short farewell, the group of carriages slowly headed towards the emergence celestial sect. Fang Qingxue, Fang Qingwei, and Fang Qingshan were the masters, so they naturally had their own carriages. Especially Fang Qingxue's carriage, it was simply a moving palace. It was magnificent, dignified, and luxurious. Although Fang Qingshan's carriage was not as good as Fang Qingxue's, it was still very comfortable. He could not feel the slightest shaking caused by the journey. It allowed him to cultivate boldly without being disturbed. After all, it was very boring to travel. But before that, Fang Qingshan had one more thing to do, which was to summon Fang Han. Greetings, third young master. Fang Han bowed respectfully to Fang Qingshan. Although he had obtained the 9 orifices golden elixir and his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, and he also had the treasure of the underworld painting, Fang Han still did not dare to act rashly when he saw Fang Qingshan. Not only was his current strength not enough for him to fly alone, but also because of Fang Qingshan's ability to predict the future, which made him very afraid. Compared to Fang Qingxue, Fang Han was actually more afraid of Fang Qingshan. Although Fang Qingxue had reached the divine secret realm that even his chief master, Bai Haichan, had not reached with the 9 orifices golden elixir and the underworld painting, Fang Han believed that he would break through one day. But Fang Qingshan was different. He seemed to be able to predict everything, and Fang Han seemed to have no secrets in front of him. Divine Force Realm. Feeling Fang Han's realm, Fang Qingshan could not help but sigh inwardly. The protagonist mode was indeed different. He had worked hard and planned for 3 years to cultivate to this level. Fang Han was just sitting at home, and treasures came to him naturally. In just 3 months, he had reached the Divine Force Realm, and was not far from the Divine Force Realm. It was really infuriating to compare oneself with others. All right, no need to be so polite. Fang Qingshan waved his hand. Now, you are about to enter the gate of immortality. With your luck, when the time comes, you will be like a rock rising with the wind, soaring 90,000 miles into the sky. I hope that in the future, You will not forget that you are also a part of the Fong family. I dare not. Fong family. Third young Master Fong Han's great kindness, Fong Han will never forget. Hearing Fong Qingshan's words, Fong Han's heart tightened, and he quickly expressed his stance. Forget about the kindness. It's just an offering of incense. Fong Qingshan shook his head and said, All right, you can go and cultivate. I will have someone leave a carriage for you. Thank you, young master. Looking at Fong Han's receding figure, Fong Qingshan knew that Fong Han was a hidden dragon rising into the abyss. The next moment he would soar into the sky. Fong Han's rise was irresistible. Shaking his head and putting Fong Han's matter aside, Fong Qingshan calmed his mind and visualized the image of the dragon and elephant, refining his true qi. Traveling was the most boring thing. Other than when it was necessary, Fong Qingshan stayed in the carriage and cultivated. Although there would not be any major breakthroughs in the path of cultivation, other than advancing by leaps and bounds, it also had to be accumulated over time. Time passed unintentionally, like the gravel between the fingers. Out of Longyuan province, the team kept moving eastward, passing through Wuling province, Huayang province, Taiga province, Jiu province, and several other major provinces. After traveling for thousands of miles, a month later, they finally arrived at the foot of a mountain range. Chapter 82. Young Master is here. At a certain moment, the carriage stopped, and Fong Ling's voice sounded from outside the carriage. Fong Qingshan slowly opened his eyes. Two rays of light flashed across his eyes, and a mouthful of turbid air surged out like two dragons. Although the dragon-elephant prajna technique did not continue to make a breakthrough in this month's cultivation, the foundation was consolidated. Fong Qingshan walked out of the carriage, and Fong Ling and Fong Qin were already waiting for him. Looking up, an ancient and boundless aura rushed towards him. The dragon and elephant pattern in his mind was stimulated and could not help but become more lively. He could see that the mountain was extremely high and lofty, its momentum lofty and lofty. Thousands of mountains competed for beauty. Thousands of ravines contended, the roots connected to the Kunlun Mountains and the top of Hanzhou. Dragons and tigers roared, cranes danced, and apes cried. Elks came out from the flowers, and blue lawns sang to the sun. The sun shone in the clear forest, and thousands of red mists swirled around. The wind created ravines, and thousands of colorful clouds floated. It was like heaven on earth, a paradise of immortals, making people forget about their god. At this moment, Fong Qingshan's heart suddenly palpitated. Following that, the cries of cranes could be heard. 7 or 8 white spots approached from afar, chasing after the stars and the moon, as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, they arrived in front of him. Taking a closer look, they were red-crowned cranes that were even bigger than cows. On the cranes stood young Taoists in feathered robes. The cranes danced. Their wings were like blades, and the wind was like arrows. For a moment, people could not help but be thrown off their feet. Only Fong Qingshan stood on the ground, motionless like a mountain, and looked at the approaching people with a displeased expression. Humph! Seeing that Fong Qingshan saw them, not only did he not salute, he was not afraid, but he actually dared to look at them like this. The disciples of the emergent sect suddenly became angry. Bold mortal, what is the punishment for offending your superiors? As he spoke, he patted the crane he was sitting on, and 2 sharp claws grabbed towards Fong Qingshan. Young master, be careful. Seeing this scene, Fong Ling and Fong Qin, who were standing behind him, suddenly turned pale with fright. They wanted to rush to the front and replace him with their bodies. However, before they could do anything, Fong Qingshan's face turned cold, and without thinking, he blasted out a punch. Fong Qingshan's cultivation of the dragon-elephant prajna art had reached the divine courage realm. Even among the outer disciples of the emergent sect, he was considered to be above average, especially when compared to these patrolling disciples. The punch was accompanied by the roar of a dragon and the cry of an elephant. It was like a great sun. Bang! The sound of metal clashing against each other could be heard. The disciples of the emergent sect obviously didn't expect that Fang Qingshan would dare to resist. They also didn't expect that Fang Qingshan actually had the strength to resist. After that strike, Fang Qingshan stood firmly on the spot, his feet sinking 3 feet into the ground. The crane was sent flying by Fang Qingshan's punch, and the disciple on it almost fell to the ground, half dead. Impudent! Things had happened in the blink of an eye. It was completely beyond the expectations of the emergent sect disciples, and they suddenly became furious. However, one of the young Taoists on the crane flipped his hand, and a long golden whip appeared in his hand. He whipped it towards Fang Qingshan. Humph! Fang Qingshan snorted coldly. He stretched out his 5 fingers, and his palm glowed with golden light, as if he was wearing a boxing glove. He grabbed the whip and pulled it hard. Thinking about how Fang Qingshan cultivated the dragon-elephant prajna art, he had great strength. Caught off guard, the young Taoist directly followed in the footsteps of the previous disciple. Shocked, he quickly let go of the whip, and the crane under him caught it. Only then did he escape unharmed. Send a signal. Someone is breaking into the mountain. The other disciples saw this scene and immediately became angry. People always help their relatives and not reason. They would only remember the bad things of others and forget their own malice. However, they were smart enough to know that they were no match for Fang Qingshan. However, it didn't matter. They still had the sect behind them, not to mention the inner sect. Even an expert from the outer sect would help them take revenge. As for lying about the military situation and putting a label on Fang Qingshan, it wasn't within their consideration. Freeze! Just when these disciples took out the signal flare and were about to send the signal, Fang Qingshan spoke. The word freeze instantly froze those patrolling disciples, as if she had cast a spell on them. What a disgrace. Is this what Senior Brother Jean taught you? Fang Qingshan slowly walked out of the carriage. Her phoenix eyes were filled with killing intent, and she was as cold as ice. She didn't believe that these people didn't know that the carriages belonged to her. Without saying a word, they first provoked and then made a move. Not only did they not make a move, they even dared to put a label on them. It was simply outrageous. She was a dignified lineal disciple and was personally appointed by the sect master. Not to mention these outer disciples. Even the inner disciples wouldn't dare to provoke him so brazenly even if they were given 3 times the courage. Yet they still did it. Other than saying that they were fearless because they were ignorant, it could only mean that they had someone backing them up. It seems like many people are dissatisfied with my promotion to a lineal disciple. Fang Qingshan lowered her eyes, and a cold light flashed in them. A kind person would be bullied, and a kind horse would be ridden. It seemed like if she didn't show off her skills, everyone would think that she was easy to bully. So it's the newly promoted lineal disciple, Senior Sister Fang. Greetings, Senior Sister Fang. Please forgive me for my rudeness. It's just that the servant you brought doesn't know the rules. Please discipline him, Senior Sister. Otherwise, I'm afraid it'll be hard to explain to Elder Tian Xing. Seeing Fang Qingshan, these people didn't show any fear and even spoke in a righteous manner. At this moment, they still dared to show off in front of her. Fang Qingshan didn't know if they were reckless or reckless. Servant? This is my younger brother. How dare you sneak attack him? Fang Qingshan pointed at Fang Qingshan and said, and even if he's my servant, if there's any problem, I will naturally discipline him. If not, there's still the sex punishment. Since when did you outer disciples have the right to make noise here? Hearing that the person they wanted to teach a lesson to was Fang Qingshan's younger brother, these people's expressions changed. Looking at Fang Qingshan's unfriendly expression, they finally felt the killing intent. If that's the case, just treat it as us being nosy. Junior brother still has to patrol the mountain, so he'll get going. As he spoke, the leader winked and was about to leave on his crane. You come and go as you please. You bullied my people, and you want to leave without giving me an explanation? How naive. Fang Qingshan waved her hand without saying a word as she looked at the group of arrogant outer sect disciples whose expressions had now changed drastically. Whoosh! A ray of lightning swept across the sky, engulfing the heavens and earth, shaking the sun and moon. A strong electric current pierced through the void, killing everything. Purple lightning blade. This was Feng Qingshue's divine power after she advanced to the secret realm. Even Bai Haichan, who had already touched the threshold of the secret realm, changed his expression, let alone these outer disciples who were only at level 7 or 8 of physique body. As expected, as the divine power swept across the sky, the 7 to 8 outer disciples let out shrill cries as their bodies were set ablaze. Chapter 83. Big Sister, will you be fine after killing these fellow disciples? Although Feng Qingwei felt very refreshed by Feng Qingshue's decisiveness, she still asked with some worry, "What do you think?" Feng Qingshue did not answer, but asked Feng Qingshan instead. The weak are prey to the strong. The fist is the hard truth. Feng Qingshan did not answer directly, but smiled faintly. Not bad." Feng Qingshue nodded approvingly. Natural selection, survival of the fittest. Although this is an immortal sect, it still can't escape from the secular world, and it's even more prominent. Do you think that Feng clan will be fine after killing a few commoners in Dragon Lake Province? Looking at the thoughtful Feng Qingwei, Feng Qingshue pointed out, of course, although immortal sects are not as lawless as demon sects and demon sects, they pay more attention to order and ethics. When facing me, they actually dared to act high above the immortal crane, which is already disrespecting their superiors. Not to mention, they even dared to scheme and provoke me. They are simply frogs at the bottom of a well, not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. No matter where you are, strength is the foundation of everything. With strength, there will be a prerequisite. If you can also be reasonable, then there won't be any problems for you to cultivate in the immortal sect. After telling Feng Qingwei about Feng Qingshan's way of life in immortal sects, Feng Qingshue changed the topic and asked, "All right, we've arrived at Emergent Sect. Do you want to follow me to Violet Lightning Peak? Or go to the Outer Sect now?" "Of course we'll go to the Outer Sect first." Feng Qingshan and Feng Qingwei answered in unison. As soon as the words came out, the two looked at each other and smiled. The reason why they came to Emergent Sect was to join and become a powerful figure like Feng Qingshue. Especially when they saw Feng Qingshue kill 7 or 8 Outer Sect disciples on the immortal crane with a wave of her hand. It stimulated their yearning. All right. Feng Qingshue did not have any objections. With a flick of his finger, 2 streaks of light flew out and landed in Feng Qingshan's and Feng Qingwei's hands respectively. The 2 streaks of light turned into a white slip of paper. The slip of paper was as warm as jade, and a few words were written on it in purple lightning. Feng Qingshan / Feng Qingwei, Outer Sect Disciple, enroll. Good luck. After handing over the Outer Sect disciple quota to the two, Feng Qingshue said indifferently, "Cultivate hard. Just send a message to the Violet Lightning Peak if you need anything." As she spoke, she turned and left with the rest of the servants. Feng Qingshue and Feng Qingshan and Qingshan. Feng Qingshue and Feng Qingshue, Qingwei, Shui, Feng, and Qingwei. Feng Qingshue, Yang Qing, Feng is Yang, Feng is Shui, Sect Feng Qingshue, I, Sect, Qingshue, Li, Shui, and Qingwei. Where there are people, there will be Jianghu. Didn't you see those Outer Sect disciples just pawns? Looking at the direction where Feng Qingshue disappeared, Feng Qingshan and Feng Qingwei looked at each other and saw the strong fighting spirit in each other's eyes. Immortal Sect, here we come. Second sister, let's go. Okay. Emergent Sect Supreme Elder and Sect Master generally lived in a different space-time, while the Deputy Sect Master, Elders, and True Disciples each had their own mountain peaks. As for the other Inner Disciples and Outer Disciples, they all lived on a plain. This plain was not a basin in the mountains, but it was artificially created by the great divines of the Emergent Sect by shaving the mountains and moving the mountains. There were hundreds of thousands of Outer Sect disciples, about 5,000 Inner Sect disciples, and even more servants who did odd jobs. On the plain, there was a majestic city. In the city, there were many palaces. This time, Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingwei were going to the immortal stepping courtyard, which was responsible for the outer sect disciple assessment. Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingwei followed the directions on the snow slip and arrived at the city without a hitch. Looking at the clean and beautiful city made of white stone, although they were shocked, the two of them were people who had seen the world and had great ambitions. After a moment's thought, they came back to their senses. Looking at the hurried crowd, the two of them didn't waste any time. They followed the directions and arrived in front of the immortal trampling courtyard. Immortal stepping, one could enter the immortal sect after crossing this gate. At this moment, the square in front of the immortal stepping courtyard was bustling with people waiting for the assessment. These people were dressed luxuriously and had bright eyes. Although they were young, they were not to be underestimated. Like Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingwei, these people had come to the assessment with the recommendation of a true disciple, an elder, a deputy sect leader, and so on. Once they passed, not only would they rise to the top, but the person who had recommended them would also be rewarded. The arrival of Fang Qingshan and Fang Qingwei naturally attracted the attention of others. While they were sizing up others were also secretly estimating their strength and potential. However, at this time, no one wanted to talk to them. First, at this time, everyone was focused on the assessment and had no time to care about other things. Second, they did not know who would pass and who would not pass. If they passed, they would naturally rise to the top. If they didn't pass, they would be strangers from then on. What was the point of talking? Buzz! Not long after, the two doors of the immortal stepping courtyard opened slowly, and two disciples in fire and water Taoist robes walked out. After looking around, they said loudly, "Disciples who are going to be assessed today, come in." Immediately, the princes and grandsons entered one by one with their recommendation cards. After a series of twists and turns, the group finally arrived at a spacious hall. There was nothing else in this hall except for a pitch-black door. Inside, there was a pair of red eyes staring at everyone, revealing a fierce, overbearing, cruel, and bloody aura, which made people's hearts palpitate. I'm afraid this is the place where the god power puppet is imprisoned. Fang Qingshan had the memories of his previous life, so he behaved calmly, causing Fang Qingwei to look askance at him. "Third brother, why aren't you worried?" Fang Qingwei asked in a low voice. "What is there to worry about? This is the Immortal Ascension sect. There won't be any danger. With our strength, why should we be afraid of not passing the assessment? So there is nothing to worry about," Fang Qingshan said lightly. Although Fang Qingshan said this to Fang Qingwei in a low voice, the entire hall was empty and quiet, so everyone naturally heard what he said. Those who came here to take the assessment were basically 1 in a million geniuses. Each of them was extremely confident in their own strength. Just now, because they had not reacted in time, they were intimidated by the imposing manner. At this moment, after hearing what Fang Qingshan said, their bodies trembled. The originally somewhat oppressive atmosphere disappeared in an instant, and they regained their courage. Outside the hall, the examiner, who originally wanted to suppress the arrogance of these geniuses, saw this and walked in early. Chapter 84. The Emergent Sect was one of the top 10 sects of the Immortal Tao. It vaguely controlled several dynasties and was high and mighty. Just the Great Li dynasty alone had a population of billions. There were countless members of powerful families, aristocrats, and the royal family. Those who could get the recommendation and come here for the assessment were all carefully selected. It was more difficult than thousands of troops crossing a single log bridge. Even so, these people were the pride of the heavens before they came here. However, in the Immortal Ascension sect, such people could be found everywhere. Because everyone came here like this, talent was not very valued here. With talent, one must have the corresponding temperament in order to go high and far. Therefore, the examiners first wanted to give them a show of strength to suppress their arrogant character. Although they did not achieve their goal, Fang Qingshan walked into the eyes of several people. It was not without gain. Thud, thud, thud. A few examiners walked in, and they were greeted by an invisible pressure. Compared to them, the sweeping monk of the celestial dragon sect paled in comparison. Even big Uncle Fangzitao was inferior. Although these examiners were only outer disciples, they stood at the peak of the physical realm. As long as there was an opportunity, they could break through to the divine secret realm. Looking around at the crowd, his eyes stopped on Fang Qingshan for a moment. An examiner said coldly, "Let's cut the nonsense. Today's assessment is to defeat a divine puppet. If you win, you will become an outer disciple. If you lose, you can go back to where you came from." With that, the examiner waved his hand. Several examiners formed a hand seal at the same time. It turned into a stream of light and entered the pitch-black door that had previously suppressed everyone. Whoosh! The fog that originally sealed the pitch-black door dispersed. A demonic shadow that was half the height of a person jumped out and landed on the ground. It was incomparably fierce and violent, shocking everyone present. This was the divine puppet. It was a product that the elders of the emergent sect used underground demons as materials. They erased their consciousness and refined it to be a product that specialized in killing. At first glance, although it was in human form, it was more like a fierce beast, especially its scarlet eyes, which were constantly blooming with cruelty, killing, greed, and so on. In its eyes, Fang Qingshan and the others were like lambs waiting to be slaughtered, and the divine puppet was the hungry wolf pouncing on its prey. Although those who came here for the assessment were the proud sons of heaven, this only meant that they were talented enough. It was inevitable that their experience was a little weaker. They were like new soldiers who had never seen blood, even though their training was up to standard, and they obeyed orders. Instinctively, when the divine power puppet's baleful aura charged at him, he could not help but take a few steps back. This time, the level was instantly distinguished. Other than Fang Qingshan, there were two other people who did not even flinch in the face of the puppet's malevolent aura, or rather, did not take a single step back. Although Fang Qingshan didn't know much about these two people, he could guess their identities from the whispers of the crowd. One of them was a man dressed in an official robe and exuding a majestic aura. He was the youngest son of the king of the Dali Kingdom, Lu Jianye. The other was dressed like a scholar. He looked weak and gentle, but he was the grandson of the prime minister of the Dade Kingdom, Wang Mingyang. "Who's next?" the examiner asked coldly, his voice emotionless. "Allow me." Some of the people who were caught off guard and forced back by the fiendish aura of the divine power puppets were unwilling to let Fang Qingshan and the other two enjoy the limelight. Therefore, when the examiner spoke, they jumped out impatiently. Fang Qingshan and the other two had no objections to this. They were more than happy to have someone test the waters first. The three of them looked at each other, nodded to each other, and retreated to the side. He was a burly man, and it was obvious that he was born with great strength. Although his cultivation level was not at the level of divine valor, his aura was still at the level of divine valor. Among the crowd, although he could not be ranked among the top, he was at least above average. Kill. He also understood the principle of taking the initiative to gain the upper hand. As soon as he walked out, he directly pounced towards the puppet and punched out. There was a faint sound of thunder. However, even though he was fast, the puppet was faster. A black shadow flashed, and its 5 fingers gleamed with a cold light as it grabbed at the man's head. As for the man's attack, the puppet didn't care at all. Oomph! Seeing that the divine power puppet actually ignored his direct attack, the man was instantly enraged. Ignoring the puppet, he directly wanted to exchange injury for injury. Dang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard, and the man's expression changed drastically. This was because when his punch landed on the puppet, it was as if he had hit a steel mountain. Not only did he not suffer any damage, but he was also forced back by the recoil. Stop! Seeing that the puppet's claw was about to reach the top of the man's head, the examiner lightly shouted, and the puppet's movement instantly stopped. Failure. Eliminated. After the examiner saved the man, he coldly announced the result. Then, someone took the man away, and the examiner continued. Next. However, after experiencing the previous battle, the crowd seemed to have been dealt a heavy blow. They looked at each other and didn't move forward. Oomph! The examiner coldly snorted. Such a small matter, and you've already been dealt a heavy blow. In the future, when you encounter even more powerful demons, won't you have to flee at the sight of the wind? I'll count to 3. If no one steps forward, I'll choose randomly. 1, 2, 3. The examiner's eyes were like lightning, sweeping across the crowd. After counting to 3, a few voices sounded at the same time. Let me. The crowd looked and saw that it was the 3 people who stood in front of them previously, Lu Jianye, Fang Qingshan, and Wang Mingyang. You go. Seeing this, the examiner's expression softened a little and casually pointed at Wang Mingyang. Yes. First sword awakening, spring wind rain. Second sword lotus, sky lotus leaf. Third sword frost, boundless falling wood. Fourth sword cold plum, frost proud of the snow. Facing the god power puppet, Wang Mingyang unhurriedly pulled out his longsword. Like a peacock spreading its tail, the sword light vibrated. In a flash, the hall was filled with spring, summer, autumn, and winter, as elegant as a painting of a landscape. But under the sword light, there was a hidden murderous intent. 4 seasons, sword technique. After 30 rounds, a sword light circled around the puppet's neck, and a head flew into the sky. Not bad, Wang Mingyang. Congratulations on becoming an outer sect disciple of our emergent sect. The examiner saw that Wang Mingyang easily defeated the puppet, and a smile finally appeared on his face. This was not because they were noble and felt happy for the sect when they saw a genius disciple, but during their assessment period, if a talented disciple appeared, they would also be rewarded. Lu Jianye's performance was obviously very good, and they might get more rewards because of this. Naturally, they were happy. Next who? The examiner asked Wang Mingyang to stand aside. Me. Lu Jianye took the responsibility and stepped forward. Good. The examiner nodded, waved his hand, and opened the dark door again, releasing a divine power puppet. Chapter 85. Without a doubt, Lu Jianye also passed the test easily. Fang Qingshan had been prepared to go next, but the others seemed to have been encouraged by Lu Jianye and Wang Yangming's success and rushed forward one by one. Fang Qingshan merely shrugged his shoulders in response. He did not mind it at all. Since they wanted to go first, he would let them go first. He did not have anything against it. Next, the princes and descendants of the aristocratic families went up one by one. Swords, knives, fists, and kicks were used one after another, but most of them failed. If it was light, they would be injured and bleed. If it was heavy, they would have broken arms and legs. Fortunately, there was no danger to their lives. Although some of them were talented, they were pampered and lived like princes. Some of them did not have a firm will and immediately wanted to retreat. Such people were obviously directly swept out of the door. Fang Qingwei also went up. Although she only had a strong inner body, her foundation was solid. Using the weapon Fang Qingxue had given her, she passed the test without any mishaps. Time passed bit by bit. Those who were supposed to go up had all gone up. Seeing that no one was going up, Fang Qingshan strolled over. As for Fang Qingshan, the examiner still had a good impression of him. Not to mention the words he had said at the start, breaking their initial stance. Afterwards, he and Lu Jianye and Wang Mingyang had not taken a single step back, allowing the other 2 to pass easily. Now, it was finally his turn. The test begins. As soon as he finished speaking, the divine puppet roared and pounced at Fang Qingshan. Its face was ferocious, and its claws were like hooks. Glowing, it came and went like the wind. With a whistling sound, it fell toward Fang Qingshan's head like a spear. Fang Qingshan didn't panic. He didn't feel sad or happy. He didn't dodge. Standing where he was, he threw a punch. Bang! Like a cannon, it smashed toward the divine puppet's claws. The examiner, Fang Qingwei, Lu Jianye, Wang Yangming, and the others didn't understand, but they knew that birds of a feather flock together. Fang Qingshan wasn't an arrogant person who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. As expected, after the sound of the bell, Fang Qingshan's shoulders shook slightly and his feet sank, but he still stood firmly on the spot. As for the divine power puppet, it was sent flying by a single punch. It tumbled through the air and landed on the ground. Although its skin was thick and it hadn't been injured, this was the first time someone had sent a puppet flying in a direct confrontation. The crowd was in an uproar. Kill! Fong Qingshan didn't care what these people thought. After sending the puppet flying with a punch, Fong Qingshan did not stop. His feet moved like a drum, and with just a few steps, he arrived before the puppet. Roar! Roar! Just as the divine power puppet steadied itself, Fong Qingshan punched out again. Dragons roared and elephants trumpeted. His entire body glowed with golden light, as if he was a golden arhut. 6 dragons and 6 elephants revolved around him. Qi and blood exploded, creating a series of rumbling noises. The strength of the qi was shocking. Even Lu Jianye and Wang Mingyang, who thought that Fong Qingshan was about the same level as them, were shocked. Although they were both in the God's Valor realm, compared to Fong Qingshan, they were still a level lower. Even the examiners couldn't help but be surprised at this scene. With Fong Qingshan's strength in the outer sect, other than a few geniuses, he could be considered to be in the upper echelon. Looks like another genius is about to rise in the outer sect, the examiners exclaimed to themselves. Fong Qingwei didn't understand why her sister didn't give her third brother some support. But now, it seemed like she already knew that with Fong Qingshan's strength, he didn't need any external help. Boom! An explosion of qi came between Fong Qingshan and the puppet. Without a doubt, the divine power puppet was sent flying again. Qi and blood were like mercury, and the thumping of its heart was like a drum. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches, the divine power puppet couldn't resist at all. Like a rubber ball, it was sent flying by Fong Qingshan's punches. If it wasn't for his shocking defense, Lu Jianye and Wang Mingyang wouldn't have been able to withstand 2 punches from Fong Qingshan without a protective artifact. Boom! Boom! Boom, boom, boom. 18 punches in a row. Fong Qingshan didn't stop punching. As soon as the puppet landed, his next punch arrived. More importantly, all 18 punches landed on the same spot. Crack! Finally, the divine power puppet fell to the ground and couldn't get up again. 18 punches in a row not only broke through the puppet's outer body, but also its sturdy armor. The hidden force penetrated the surface and broke the puppet's internal structure. Good. Fong Qingshan, congratulations on passing the test. From now on, you're an outer sect disciple of the celestial sect of Yuhua. Although they knew that Fong Qingshan would definitely pass the test, they didn't expect him to be so domineering. Even the examiner was looking at him with a gentle expression and equal tone. Other than because they were going to be fellow disciples, it was also because they saw a top disciple in Fong Qingshan, so they wanted to be on his good side. Third brother, no wonder big sister told me privately to find you if I have any problems in the future. If you can't solve it, then tell her. You're so amazing. Fong Qingwei looked Fong Qingshan up and down, her tone full of emotion. Although she already knew from Fong Qingxue that Fong Qingshan wasn't simple, seeing was believing. Without seeing it for herself, she couldn't understand the shock. Especially since Fong Qingshan had been sickly and weak for more than a decade, needing her to take care of him. But now, she was no longer his opponent. Thinking of this, Fong Qingwei couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Second sister, don't say that. I only have what I have today because of your care. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. Fong Qingshan smiled. Brother Fong is so domineering. At this moment, Wang Mingyang and Lu Jianye walked over and gave a thumbs up to Fong Qingshan. I originally thought that in this test, only Brother Wang could be compared to me. I didn't expect there to be a genius like Brother Fong. I was too arrogant. Lu Jianye sighed. Brother Lu is right. Previously, I only thought that Brother Fong was similar to us. I didn't expect this result. In the future, please take care of us. Wang Mingyang added. Not at all. Not at all. You two are too kind. Fong Qingshan hurriedly waved his hand. I just focused on physical training. In the future, we should help each other. That's right. Fong Qingwei, Lu Jianye, and Wang Mingyang said in unison. Although this was an immortal sect, it didn't mean that it was peaceful. The competition here was just as intense. If one didn't advance, they would fall behind. Thinking about it, hundreds of thousands of outer sect disciples had to fight for thousands of inner sect disciple spots. The cruelty of the competition was self-evident. Chapter 86. Dang! A bell rang. Today, all the assessments were completed. Hundreds of assessment disciples finally passed the assessment and became outer disciples, but only a few dozen people, not even 1 in 10. It should be known that these people were originally recommended after thousands of selection, which shows how difficult it is to enter the Immortal Gate. After the assessment, Fang Qingshan and others followed the examiner to the backyard of the Immortal Stepping Courtyard to receive the benefits of outer disciples. It was said to be a welfare, but in fact, it was a novice gift bag. They were a feather robe, a few jade engraved talismans, a sharkskin long sword, and several jade books. The feather Taoist robe was actually the uniform of low-level disciples. Although it couldn't even be considered a magic tool, it was still a rare treasure in the secular world. It was invulnerable to swords and spears, and was impervious to fire and water. It was like a golden jade garment. As for the talismans, although they were not precious, they were also essential for home travel. There were clean clothes talisman, dust avoidance talisman, true fire talisman, true water talisman, stop blood talisman, etc. As for the sharkskin long sword and the feather robe, they were the standard weapons of emergent sects' outer disciples. In the last few jade books, other than the 3 basic martial arts of the Emergence Gate's outer sanctum disciples, the flying spirit softbone body, and the dragon form flying tiger steps, there were also the Emergence Gate's rules and some general knowledge of the entire cultivation world. For the general public, there were naturally no fine products in the standard things. For Fang Qingshan, the most precious thing was the common sense of the immortal world. It recorded other sects, monster beasts, underground abyss, overseas, some things about the major dynasties, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, basic introductions of spirit techniques, and so on. This was what he lacked the most. Each person picked a box, and under the guidance of the examiner, everyone chose the place they needed to live for a period of time. The places where outer disciples lived were Crouching Immortal Courtyard, Staying Immortal Courtyard, Clear Immortal Courtyard, Quiet Immortal Courtyard, Hidden Immortal Courtyard, and dozens of other courtyards. The area of each courtyard was very large, and it was not much worse than the imperial palace in the secular world. There were all kinds of courtyards, thousands of them. Fang Qingshan's group of 4 chose a few courtyards in the quiet, immortal courtyard to stay. When he entered his own courtyard, he saw the winding corridors, the high eaves, and all sorts of plots and schemes. There were a few tall bamboos, a pond, bird song, and the fragrance of flowers. Compared to the Rain Admiration Pavilion when he was in the Fang clan, it was in no way inferior. After wandering around the courtyard and looking at the environment he was going to live in, Fang Qingshan returned to his bedroom. He changed into the feathered Taoist robe. Although it was just a standard robe, it was still better than what he was wearing now. Most importantly, it was comfortable. Then, Fang Qingshan hung the demon-slaying sword on the wall and used the dust removal talisman to tidy up the room. He casually flipped through the 3 basic martial arts books and threw them aside. After that, he flipped open another jade book, The Rules of the Ascension Sect. He read it carefully. When he was not strong enough, memorizing the sect rules might be able to save his life. Of course, if you had Fang Qingshue's strength, as long as you didn't make any mistakes, the sect rules were just a piece of waste paper to them. Didn't you see how Fang Qingxue killed 7 or 8 outer sect disciples in one slash in front of the mountain gate, and nothing happened to her? Of course, what if it was an inner sect disciple instead? One moment they killed someone, the next moment they might be in jail. If it was more serious, they might even be crippled of their martial arts. Although Fang Qingshan didn't have a photographic memory, his memory was still very strong. After flipping through 2 or 3 times, he memorized it. After memorizing the sect rules, Fang Qingshan picked up the last jade book, The Worlds. 10 immortal sects, 7 demonic lineages, 5 demonic sects, unorthodox sect, underground abyss, Outer realm, starry sky. Endless ocean. Ancient secrets. Rare treasures. World dynasty. Void heaven. After opening it, over 1,000 catalogs came into view, giving off a dazzling feeling. Feng Qingshan calmed himself down and flipped through it bit by bit. Soon he was engrossed in it. What 100,000 whys? Even the encyclopedia paled in comparison to him. There was no comparison at all. The world's was all-encompassing and all-encompassing. It was an extremely rare enlightenment book. After a long while, Feng Qingshan put down the all worlds reluctantly. This book was all-encompassing, and it would probably take 3 to 5 years to finish reading it. It was not something that could be digested in a short period of time. After putting down the book, Feng Qingshan sat on his bed. He calmed himself down and started to think about his next plan. After joining the Heaven's Emergence sect, the next step was to enter the secret realm. However, the secret realm wasn't that easy to break through. The Heaven's Emergence sect had hundreds of thousands of outer sect disciples and 5,000 inner sect disciples. Every year, only a few could break through to the secret realm. If he wanted to break through, apart from the natural accumulation, he could only rely on fortuitous opportunities. There were 2 sources of opportunities. One was to go out and train. If they were lucky, they might come across some immortal cave or spiritual medicine. The second was to get a good ranking in the inner sect competition and receive rewards from the sect. The Yin-Yang longevity pill was a precious pill that could assist in breaking through to the secret realm. However, rare items were more valuable. Even the sect didn't have many of such items. Hence, they could only reward the best. This required one to have the ability to suppress the masses. This path wasn't easy to tread. Hundreds of thousands of outer court disciples and 5,000 inner court disciples. All of them had gone through numerous trials and tribulations to get here. Hidden dragons and crouching tigers could be found everywhere. No one could compare to a nobody a moment ago who might soar into the sky in the next and be unstoppable. Of course, this was for others. To Feng Qingshan, he had another opportunity, which was to continue traversing worlds. However, using the heaven chessboard to traverse worlds required resources. Without luck, it was impossible to open up a new world. His cultivation had broken through. In addition to the luck he collected in the Sky Dragon world and the fact that he joined the Emergent sect this time, he also had luck. However, he was still lacking a little to light up the third world. If I want to increase my luck in the short term, I'm afraid I have to become an inner sect disciple. Feng Qingshan pondered carefully. And if I want to become an inner sect disciple, I have to fight and train. It seems that I have to ask Second Sister later if Lu Jianye and Wang Mingyang have any news about the inner sect examination. Feng Qingshan touched his chin. With my current strength, as long as my luck isn't so bad that I can't even drink cold water, I should be able to pass the examination. Now I have to see if there is any news about the examination in the short term. Knock! 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 At this moment, there was a knock on the door of the small courtyard. Feng Qingshan walked out to take a look. The sky had already darkened. Feng Qingwei, Lu Jianye, and Wang Mingyang were waiting for him to go for dinner. Chapter 87. Yuhua Immortal Sect's Outer Sect's Jade Dining Hall's meals were directly cooked by a Dao artifact called the 5-Qi Immortal Pot. It was equivalent to the highest grade medicinal cuisine and was extremely good for conditioning the body. Even though Feng Qingshan had been nourished by all sorts of elixirs since he was a child, he had grown up with all sorts of elixirs. But obviously, the food he ate was thousands of miles away from the ordinary food of the outer sect disciples. Dao artifact, that was a treasure to attain Dao. It had endless uses and many top powerhouses with God's ability didn't even have one. But the Yuhua sect used it directly for cooking. Even an ordinary chicken would become as nutritious as ginseng chicken after being cooked by the 5-Qi Immortal Pot. It was already a spectacular scene for hundreds and thousands of people to gather at a school's cafeteria. Not to mention, there were hundreds of thousands of people gathered at Yuhua Dining Hall. Although there were so many people gathered together, Yuhua Dining Hall didn't feel crowded at all. Everyone gathered together in groups of 3 to 5, going back and forth, either discussing with each other or lowering their heads to eat. Fong Qingshan and the others came to Yuhua Dining Hall and looked around. They picked a corner with fewer people and sat at an empty table. Everyone had seen the various worlds and were naturally familiar with how to order food. Each of them took out a paper talisman from the white jade pot on the table, thought about what they wanted to eat, and threw it into the crystal pool. Then, Fish took away the paper talisman. Not long after, a water lily bud the size of a wash basin rose from the bottom of the crystal pool. Open it and you would find the food you wanted. The few of them had seen the world and had eaten a lot of good food since they were young. So even though the food cooked by the Tao artifact was delicious, the four of them didn't lose their image. While eating elegantly, Fong Qingshan asked, "Second sister, Brother Wang, Brother Liu, do you know of any intersect assessment missions recently?" Intersect assessment missions? Hearing Fong Qingshan's question, the three of them put down their chopsticks at the same time. They thought about it and shook their heads. "Third brother, do you want to enter the intersect so soon?" Fong Qingwei asked. "That's right." Fong Qingshan nodded. "Being an outer disciple is of no help to me at all. Only by becoming an inner disciple can I speed up my breakthrough." Fong Qingwei and the others nodded in silence. Fong Qingshan was already in the godly valor state, and not just any ordinary godly valor. The three basic martial arts of the outer sect disciples were not very useful to Fong Qingwei, and the other two, not to mention him. On the other hand, the inner sect's chaotic whole breathing technique, origin day spiritual art, and righteous chi of heaven and earth were the three secret arts that had the potential to unlock divine abilities. Unfortunately, it was the same as becoming an outer court disciple. In order to become an inner court disciple, one first had to have the qualifications. Otherwise, without the qualifications to be recommended, even if one was at the divine transformation realm, they still wouldn't be able to become an outer court disciple of Ascension Sect. Similarly, if one wanted to become an inner court disciple, then one had to first participate in the inner court disciple test and obtain a qualification before passing the test to become an inner court disciple. Although the three of them weren't alone in the emergent sect, and they more or less had their own backers and connections, they really hadn't heard of any assessment opportunities in a short period of time. Could it be that I have to wait for a while? Wait until Fong Han also joins the outer court? Fong Qingshan couldn't help but frown. This is simply ridiculous. You just joined the outer court, and you want to become an inner court disciple. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. At this moment, a burst of wanton laughter suddenly sounded in their ears. Such unscrupulous laughter immediately aroused the disgust of the people around them. But after listening to his words, the others looked at Fong Qingshan and the others with a bit of disdain. Fong Qingshan and the others frowned and looked in the direction of the voice. They saw 3 men and 2 women sitting at their table. One of them seemed to have passed the assessment with Fong Qingshan and the others today. At this moment, he was looking at Fong Qingshan and the others with jealousy and ridicule. As for the person who spoke, he was like a playboy, unruly and arrogant. He looked at Fong Qingshan and the others and suddenly snorted. "What? You don't like me, so you hit me?" I've seen people who ask for power, money, and sex, but I've never seen anyone who asks others to hit him. The world is really big and full of strange things. Fong Qingshan replied indifferently. Maybe he's just a bastard. Fong Qingwei added, "Bastard couple, you're asking for death." Hearing this, the playboy was immediately furious. Without saying anything, he pulled out a whip from his waist and slapped it towards Fong Qingwei's face. "Be careful. Magic weapon." Fong Qingshan and the others obviously didn't expect that the person would attack them without saying a word and even use a magic weapon to hit Fong Qingwei's face. "You're asking for death." Fong Qingwei was caught off guard, and her beautiful face immediately turned pale. If this whip hit her, even if she wasn't seriously injured, she would be disfigured. For a woman, appearance was very important, so it could be seen that this person was vicious. Just as Fong Qingwei couldn't dodge and the whip was about to land on her face, a hand reached out, shining with golden light, and grabbed the whip. "Let go!" The man didn't expect that someone could catch the whip of his magic weapon with bare hands. His expression changed instantly, and he wanted to take back his hand, but it didn't move at all. "Humph, come here!" Fong Qingshan exerted his strength, and the magic whip was pulled over by him. If the man had not caught it in time, he would have been sent flying over as well. "Pa!" Following that, Fong Qingshan gave him a taste of his own medicine and lashed out at the man's face with the same whip. "Junior brother, you've crossed the line." Buzz! A mirror rose to the sky and protected the man's head. Fong Qingshan felt like the whip had hit a ball of cotton, and he couldn't exert any force. Among the 3 men and 2 women, the last man glanced at Fong Qingshan coldly and said indifferently, "Cross the line?" To this, Fong Qingshan only chuckled. The man from before mocked him without saying anything and then attacked Fong Qingwei without saying anything. Now, they were just giving him a taste of his own medicine, and he actually said that they had crossed the line. "Either you apologize, or you let him take a punch from me." Fong Qingshan didn't care about anything else and said indifferently, "You stole my magic weapon, and you want me to apologize?" "Impossible!" The foppish disciple screamed. "Third brother, he's bullying me. You can't just ignore him." "Say no more." The elegant but cold man waved his hand and looked at Fong Qingshan. "Do you really want to do this? Looks like we can't be nice today." Fong Qingshan squinted his eyes and slowly stood up. A majestic aura of qi and blood instantly spread out from his body. The surrounding people suddenly felt a scorching sensation, as if they had been placed in a steamer and roasted. Chapter 88. If that's the case, then I'll break your confidence first. Fong Qingshan looked at the rich man coldly and stomped his foot, causing the ground to tremble. He took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the cold-looking man. He threw a punch. Instantly, there was the sound of wind tearing and the air exploding. It was as if a vajra had smashed down. The cold-faced man's expression changed slightly. He took a step forward, and the ground beneath his feet suddenly sank. He pointed out a finger, and like frost descending, the scorching air in the surroundings that had been heated up due to Fong Qingshan's qi and blood seemed to have met with a cold current. The cold and hot collided, producing sizzling sounds, and white smoke rose up. Boom! The fist and finger collided like a thunderclap. Fong Qingshan's shoulders shook slightly, and a white spot appeared on his fist. The cold-looking man not only took 3 steps back, but his finger also became red and swollen. Again, Fong Qingshan did not give up. He used the 8 trigrams of changes and walked like a dragon and tiger. He arrived in front of the man again and threw a punch. This time, the man did not fight head-on. Instead, he used the flying spirit's soft-bone body. His body was like a snake, soft as silk, and he dodged Fong Qingshan's punch by a hair's breadth. Then, with a slip of his foot, he immediately retreated a certain distance. Clang! A dazzling cold light flashed through the sky. In the next moment, Fong Qingshan's vision blurred, and a low and muffled sound of thunder resounded in his ears. The figure of the man in front of him had already disappeared, and in its place was a blazing white thundercloud. Thunder crash, swordsmanship. Seeing this swordsmanship being performed, the crowd could not help but exclaim, "Damn, who is this guy?" He actually made the 3rd prince use his best move in the first exchange. There are indeed hidden dragons and crouching tigers among the outer disciples. An unknown person has actually forced the 3rd prince to such a state. If they knew that Fong Qingshan had just joined the inner sect today, they would probably be even more shocked. Buzz! Lightning flashed and thunder roared. The sword flashes flew up and down erratically, covering Fong Qingshan from all directions. If it was someone else, they probably wouldn't be able to tell where the sword was and where the lightning was. However, although Fong Qingshan specialized in the dragon-elephant prajna art and walked the path of one brute force to defeat 10, he had long since practiced the Taiji fist to his bones. Striking after the enemy, using stillness to stop them had almost become an instinct. He was as still as a mountain, and his long black hair was fluttering in the wind. Although the thunderclap swordplay was fast, it was not necessarily faster than the Sunflower Treasure Manual. Fong Qingshan wasn't in a hurry to attack either. He struck after the enemy had struck, countering each move as it came and dealing with a myriad of changes by remaining unchanging. Dang, dang, dang. It was like a divine general striking a bell or a celestial soldier beating a drum. The sounds of Jean and you clashing rang out incessantly. The crowd could only see two figures, one white and one gold, coming and going as fast as lightning. Fong Qingshan seemed to be enveloped in a domain of lightning. Fong Qingshan was as still as a mountain. His hands danced like shadows, as if he had 1,000 arms, blocking the sword flashes and the sound of thunder every time. The third prince is no match for him. Among the spectators, there were naturally some with sharp eyes. They could tell at a glance that although it seemed like Fong Qingshan was being suppressed, the third prince had already been led by the momentum. It was hard for him to back down now. When he slowed down, it would be the moment of his defeat. Who is this person? Even the third prince's thunderclap swordplay can't take him down. I'm afraid that he is not inferior to some of the inner sect disciples. Looks like there's another strong cultivator in the outer sect. While they marveled at Fong Qingshan's strength, the crowd couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. The third prince was the prince of the great Su kingdom. Although he could not compare to the second prince of the inner sect or the first prince of the inner sect, his strength was still top-notch. However, such a person was actually defeated by Fong Qingshan. How could the crowd not be alarmed? There were only so many resources. If you were strong, you would get more, and the others would get less. Unknowingly, they had become enemies. Regardless of what the crowd was thinking, the third prince had completed his thunderclap swordplay. Not only did he not defeat Fong Qingshan, but he had also exhausted himself. His whole body was drenched in sweat, and his face was pale. His chi and blood had been depleted by more than half. The first spurt of energy was followed by the second and the third. The changes in the third prince's aura naturally could not be hidden from Fong Qingshan. The moment the thunderclap swordplay slowed down, Fong Qingshan immediately discovered a flaw. Roar! Fong Qingshan opened his mouth and let out a long roar, like the roar of a dragon, like the hiss of an elephant. In an instant, the third prince felt a loud buzzing sound in his head. His body could not help but sway, and his swordplay, which had already slowed down, came to a halt. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Fong Qingshan threw 18 consecutive punches, one after another, like a torrential river, full of momentum. The third prince came to his senses. The momentum was lost. With a bang, even the top-notch magic weapon in his hand, the thunderclap swordplay, was shaken out of his hand. Lose! Fong Qingshan's eyes flashed, and he continued to throw another punch at the third prince's chest. Buzz! At this time, above the third prince's head, a mirror reflected the sunlight. The dragon and phoenix patterns flowed brilliantly, and the sound was endless. Spiritual weapon. This was the mirror that had previously been used to protect the ninth prince. Seeing this object, many of the surrounding outer sect disciples could not help but exclaim, their eyes full of envy. In the immortal world, magic weapons are divided into magic weapons, spiritual weapons, precious weapons, Tao weapons, immortal weapons, and so on. Magic weapons have a trace of magic power that can be used by people, such as fire talisman, water talisman, wind talisman, the whip that Fong Qingshan had previously seized, and the third prince's thunderclap swordplay. This kind of magic weapon, as long as it is cultivated to the divine secret realm, can be infused with their own magic power. And the spiritual weapon is the divine secret realm, cultivated to the 5th level, the celestial realm. The magic power constructs a variety of large formations. Blessing on the weapon has extraordinary spirituality. Generally, only after becoming an inner sect disciple will be rewarded by the sect elders, such as flying swords, flying knives, protective shields, amulets, and so on. After a drop of blood sacrifice refining, it can be used by the disciples without magical power, by the will of the mind, greatly increase the ability of self-defense, demon control. The third prince is not an inner sect disciple. Obviously, this spiritual weapon was not given by the sect elders. It is likely that his elder brother, the true disciple of the sect, gave it. Seeing the third prince shrouded in the mirror, as if impregnable, Fong Qingshan could not help but frown. His fist hit the treasure light. Not only did it not break the defense, but it was also pushed back 3 steps by the force of the shock. Junior brother, I can't beat you, and you can't break my defense. No discord, no concord, I think we should forget about it today. Seeing this, the third prince could not help but take the initiative to give him a ladder. Really? No matter how good a spiritual weapon is, it still needs magic power to activate. I don't believe you can hold on for long. Fong Qingshan sneered. Chapter 89. Furthermore, the spiritual weapon might be able to protect you, but I don't know if it can protect him. Fong Qingshan looked at the ninth prince with a faint smile as he watched the third prince's expression change. How dare you? If you hurt me, my first and second royal brothers will not let you off. When the ninth prince saw that Fong Qingshan was looking at him with malicious intent, he immediately became like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He shouted in a threatening manner, but was actually cowardly at heart. Junior brother, don't go overboard. The third prince was furious when he heard Fong Qingshan say that he would attack the ninth prince if he could not break through the ninth prince's defenses. Although he didn't like the ninth prince who was making trouble out of nothing and achieving nothing, the ninth prince was the first prince's biological brother. If the ninth prince was hurt in front of him, even though he was also the ninth prince's half-brother, he wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Overboard? All of you allow the officials to do whatever they want, but not the common people. Fong Qingshan sneered. You have 2 choices. Either you apologize, or he eats my fist. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to walk out of Jade Cuisine Hall alive. What a big tone. What an arrogant attitude. Just as the ninth prince was panicking and the third prince was panicking, a cold voice rang out. The crowd parted to reveal a man who looked similar to the third prince and the ninth prince, but had a completely different temperament. His face was expressionless, and there was no joy or anger, but the people around him suddenly felt their hearts tighten. Their hair stood on end, and goosebumps appeared on their skin as they shivered. Fong Qingshan was the first to bear the brunt of the aura. He felt a chill run down his spine. This was the wrath of an emperor. Second brother. The ninth prince shouted excitedly when he saw the newcomer. The third prince secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Sigh, this kid is in trouble. Yes, I didn't expect Prince Zhuang to come. He is an inner disciple. I heard that he is not far from the peak of the physique transformation realm. Seeing Prince Zhuang's arrival, the crowd could not help but look at Fong Qingshan with pity. Fong Qingshan's cultivation was not bad, and even the third prince had to admit defeat. However, Prince Zhuang was an inner disciple. His cultivation had reached the 9th level of the spirit-detecting realm, and he also had a spirit weapon in his hand. He could not be compared to Fong Qingshan. Third brother. Seeing Prince Zhuang's arrival, Fong Qingwei's expression changed as well. Without a word, she stepped forward and stood shoulder to shoulder with Fong Qingshan. Lu Jianye and Wang Mingyang looked at each other and stood beside Fong Qingshan. Prince Zhuang only glanced at the 3 of them before turning his attention to Fong Qingshan. Are you saying that if I don't apologize to you, I won't be able to walk out of Jade Dining Hall today? Prince Zhuang stared coldly at Fong Qingshan. An invisible aura enveloped him. Fong Qingshan felt a sense of oppression. It was as if dark clouds were pressing down on a city. Even his thoughts seemed to slow down. Fong Qingshan knew that this was due to the difference in cultivation level. He was only at the Divine Courage realm, but Prince Zhuang was already at the Spirit-Detecting realm and was about to break through to the Divine Transformation realm. Once he reached the 9th level of the Physique Transformation realm, his mind would change. Do you still think so? Prince Zhuang's expression did not change as he watched Fong Qingshan's face turn green and purple. Step by step, he walked towards Fong Qingshan. Every step he took seemed to be trampling on Fong Qingshan's heart. Fong Qingwei and the others felt that something was amiss. She wanted to warn Prince Zhuang, but she could not take care of herself. Suddenly, a strong pressure pressed down on them like a mountain, preventing them from paying attention to anything else. Sigh, this kid is finished. Prince Zhuang is going to destroy him. Even if Prince Zhuang stops today, this kid will remain like this for the rest of his life if he cannot overcome this psychological barrier. Who told him to overestimate himself and provoke the prince of the great Su dynasty? You want me to submit to a mere spirit-detecting realm cultivator? You must be dreaming. Although Fang Qingshan was under immense pressure and was on the verge of collapsing, he did not admit defeat. Hiss. As he endured the pressure from Prince Zhuang, he tried his best to visualize the dragon elephant totem of the dragon elephant prajna skill. Although he had not seen the real visualization diagram or the real dragon elephant, as he continued to cultivate the dragon elephant prajna skill, the dragon elephant totem would automatically complete a portion of the dragon elephant totem. Therefore, the current dragon elephant totem was no longer something that Fang Qingshan had created out of thin air. Elephant suppresses the earth. Dragon soars in the sky. Dragon elephant suppresses the spirit. A cold glint flashed in his black eyes as he growled in his heart. In an instant, the complex, dark golden lines of light intertwined in Fang Qingshan's mind, triggering a mysterious fluctuation. A dragon and an elephant could be vaguely seen between his eyebrows, guarding the world. He roared at the sky. Bang! There was the sound of glass shattering. Fang Qingshan's face turned pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his aura rapidly weakened. His body began to stagger, but his eyes were bright and spirited. Prince Zhuang did not think much of Fang Qingshan. After all, he was an inner disciple and was about to break through to the divine transformation realm. He did not expect Fang Qingshan to break through the suppression of his aura. Instead, it was a blessing in disguise. Fang Qingshan had condensed the dragon elephant and taken another step forward on the path of spirit-detecting realm. Prince Zhuang's face darkened at once. Good. You do have some skills. Prince Zhuang narrowed his eyes. If that's the case, I'll let this matter go if you can take one of my punches. As soon as he finished speaking, Prince Zhuang did not give Fang Qingshan a choice. He released his aura and forced the others back. Then, without another word, he slammed his palm down on Fang Qingshan. The Heavenly King covers the Earth Tiger. The pagoda suppresses the River Demon. Under the palm, Fang Qingshan seemed to have become the Monkey King. I can't take this head-on. Be it strength, awareness, reflexes, or combat techniques, he was not on the same level as Prince Zhuang. If he fought head-on, even if he did not die, he would be severely injured. Fang Qingshan immediately decided on a countermeasure. He stepped on the yin-yang stance and waved his hands. He drew a circle in front of his chest and displayed the Taiji fist. A large circle covered a small circle, a straight circle covered a slanted circle, and a flat circle covered a vertical circle. They were all interlinked and grew endlessly. In an instant, a Taiji diagram formed in front of Fang Qingshan. Smack! Buzz! Crack! Boom! Although the Taiji fist was adept at using softness to overcome hardness and defeat the strong, there was a limit. Once the limit was exceeded, even the strongest defense would be broken. Prince Zhuang's palm fell like a hot knife through butter. Boom! Fang Qingshan felt his chest heat up. His entire body was sent flying and fell to the ground. Fortunately, the Taiji fist was not futile. Coupled with the dragon elephant cross-training, he managed to withstand the attack. Chapter 90. Third brother, Brother Fang, are you all right? Seeing Fang Qingshan being sent flying by Prince Zhuang's punch, Fang Qingwei and the other two immediately ran over to help Fang Qingshan up. I'm fine. Fang Qingshan waved his hand and stood up with the help of the other three. Although he was on the verge of collapsing, the fact that he was able to stand up showed that Prince Zhuang's punch had not achieved its intended effect. Thank you, Prince Zhuang. Although Fang Qingshan could not wait to teach Prince Zhuang a lesson, he remained calm on the surface. After all, he had no choice but to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. If he could not defeat Prince Zhuang in a fight, he would be foolish if he asked for trouble. Let's go. Prince Zhuang looked deeply at Fang Qingshan and suppressed his urge to attack. After all, Fang Qingshan had said that as long as Fang Qingshan could withstand his punch, the matter would be written off. If he went back on his words now, he would be a laughingstock in front of so many outer and even inner disciples. Since he could not make a move, the royal family of Great Su would not be able to regain their dignity today. Prince Zhuang did not want to stay any longer and left hurriedly with the third prince, the ninth prince, and the others. Whoosh! When the crowd saw that Prince Zhuang could not defeat Fang Qingshan even with his own attack, there was an uproar. Although everyone knew that Prince Zhuang had not used his full strength, among the 5,000 inner disciples, Prince Zhuang's strength was among the top. Even if he did not use his full strength, his attack was not something that could be easily withstood. Moreover, looking at Fang Qingshan's appearance, he was not even seriously injured. How could the crowd not be shocked? Let's go back, Fang Qingshan said to Fang Qingwei and the other two. He did not want to stay here and be a monkey to the crowd. Third brother, are you really all right? Fang Qingwei asked worriedly. At the same time, she blamed herself. After all, what happened today was caused by Fang Qingshan standing up for her. Her younger brother, who originally needed her protection, had turned around to protect her and almost suffered a serious injury. Fang Qingwei felt terrible. The Great Su dynasty is so arrogant. They don't distinguish right from wrong and bully the weak. Do they think that our Fang clan can be bullied? Fang Qingwei said to Fang Qingshan with a murderous look on her face. Third brother, let's go to Violet Lightning Peak and find Big Sister to take revenge for us. If there is a need, we can also ask our true disciples to step forward. Seeing this, Lu Jianye and Wang Mingyang also voiced their support. Thank you for your kind intentions, but there's no need. Fang Qingshan first expressed his gratitude to Lu Jianye and Fang Qingwei, and then said to Fang Qingwei, Second sister, don't bother Big Sister. I'm really fine. Moreover, if we can't even handle such a small matter properly, how can we go higher and further in the future if we have to ask Big Sister for help? In addition, we have people behind us, and they also have people behind them. Once things get out of hand, as long as it's not a mistake of principle, the sects will just punish each other 50 times. Moreover, the river flows east for 30 years, and the river flows west for 30 years. If we have been wronged, we have to seek revenge ourselves. Only then will our thoughts be clear. Back in his room, Fang Qingshan went through the events of the day in his mind and discovered a weakness. That was, he did not have a magic weapon that he could use. There was a huge gap between him and the third prince, but with just a spiritual weapon, he could not do anything to him for a short period of time. If he had a good spiritual weapon today, he would not have been in such a difficult situation when facing Prince Zhuang. Even if he used all his strength, he could only barely take one blow from him. It seems that I have to plan carefully and find 2 weapons that I can use. Forget about magic weapons. I have cultivated the dragon elephant prajna art and am not inferior to ordinary magic weapons. It would be best if I could get a treasured weapon, and even better if it's a Dao weapon. Unfortunately, treasured weapons and Dao weapons were things that could only be encountered by chance. Fang Qingshan could only think about it. Good fortune is accompanied by misfortune, and misfortune is accompanied by good fortune. Even though he was almost seriously injured by Prince Zhuang today, Fang Qingshan did gain some benefits. Under the pressure of Prince Zhuang's mental strength, his dragon elephant visualization advanced a step further. He was able to condense a dragon elephant between his eyebrows. With just one more step, the dragon elephant would leave his body, and he would be able to break through to the psychic realm. Fang Qingshan calmed his heart and visualized a dragon elephant in his mind. A roaring golden dragon coiled around a giant elephant that seemed to be made of gold. The dragon elephant he visualized this time was not only more agile, but also more dignified than the previous ones. Moreover, as Fang Qingshan visualized the dragon elephant, his mind was highly focused and unaffected by external objects. In an instant, Fang Qingshan seemed to have transformed into a dragon elephant, suppressing the heavens and earth. He had the agility of a dragon soaring through the 4 seas, and the majesty of an elephant suppressing the wilderness. Indistinctly, Fang Qingshan seemed to see an ancient, heavy, round, and square door hidden in the depths of his mind. The veins on the door were rich and exquisite, like the ravines of the brain. The door of divine powers. Fong Qingshan knew that this was the door of divine powers. As long as he opened this door, he would be able to break through to the secret realm of divine powers. However, this door was illusory like a mirage, not to mention opening it. It was clear that his realm was not high enough. Haste makes waste, and haste makes waste. Fong Qingshan did not force it. He generally visualized the dragon elephant while circulating the dragon elephant prajna art to recover from his injuries. Dong! 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 After an unknown amount of time, Fong Qingshan was awakened by a series of knocks on the door. Phew! Fong Qingshan let out a long breath of turbid air and stood up. With a series of crackling sounds, he moved his arms and legs and sensed that his injuries were almost healed. This was not only because his injuries were not serious, but also because his body was surging with blood and the strong regenerative ability of the dragon elephant prajna art. When Xiao Chen walked out of the room and looked up, the sun was already high in the sky. Fong Qingshan originally thought that it was Fong Qingwei, Lu Jianye, or Wang Mingyang. However, when he opened the door, a trace of astonishment appeared in his eyes. This was because he did not know the person who came. However, he saw that the person who came had brows like distant mountains and eyes like bright stars. He wore golden-purple immortal robes and held a folding fan in his hand. He had an imposing appearance and an outstanding appearance. I am the great dynasties by Li Shi. Greetings, Brother Fong. Bai Lishi smiled faintly when he saw the astonishment in Fong Qingshan's eyes. He took the initiative to greet him. Brother Bai Lishi is right. Although they did not know each other, Fong Qingshan returned the greeting. Then he asked curiously, Brother Bai Lishi and I did not know each other before, right? I wonder why Brother Bai Lishi is looking for me? What? Brother Fong is not inviting me in, and you are talking here? This is not the way to treat a guest. Bai Lishi did not reply. Instead, he teased Xiao Chen like they were old friends. Yeah. Fong Qingshan gave Bai Lishi a meaningful look. Then he moved to the side and said, Please. Chapter 91. I wonder why Brother Bai Lishi is looking for me. Fong Qingshan invited Bai Lishi into the house. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he got straight to the point. Brother Fong is really anxious. Bai Lishi laughed softly. Then he said, I have only one purpose in coming to look for Brother Fong. I would like to invite Brother Fong to complete a mission with me. Complete a mission? Fong Qingshan raised his eyebrows and asked in astonishment, What mission? Why me? What are the benefits? It is a mission to gather herbs. It can be said to be difficult or simple. Bai Lishi explained, This mission requires us to find a stalk of 9 serene green phosphorus grass. The 9 serene green phosphorus grass is a rare spirit herb. Many precious pills require it. For example, the refining of my emergent sex famous yin-yang longevity pill requires it as a supplementary ingredient. The reason why it is rare is because, as its name suggests, it likes to stay in an underground abyss where few people go. Furthermore, this spirit herb has the ability to seek benefits and avoid harm. As long as one's cultivation is higher than the courage gods, once they gain intelligence, they will be easily sensed and escape. Thus, those with high cultivation cannot find it. The underground abyss is filled with danger, and those with low cultivation cannot easily barge through. Hence, this spirit herb is very rare. As for the people in the divine secret realm, it is easy to capture them. However, those big shots are very busy. Why would they waste their time for a mere stalk of spirit herb? As for why it is you, it is very simple. Brother Fong just entered the outer sect, but your combat prowess is already close to that of the inner sect. Even Prince Shuang could not do anything to you. Be it in terms of combat prowess or cultivation, you are the best candidate. As for the benefits, as long as we can complete the mission, how about a spot for the inner sect test? What? A spot for the inner sect test? Fong Qingshan's originally indifferent expression changed as he asked in disbelief. Even if a mere stalk of spirit herb is precious, it can be exchanged for a spot for the inner sect test? Ah, Brother Fong worries too much. Bai Lishi laughed heartily. This isn't a mere stalk of spirit grass. Although it isn't the main ingredient in refining the yin-yang longevity pill, it's still indispensable. The yin-yang longevity pill can increase one's chances of breaking through to the divine ability realm. Furthermore, the difficulty of picking it is more than enough to qualify for the assessment. After all, this isn't an intersect assessment mission, it's just a qualifying scroll. I see. Fong Qingshan nodded and suddenly asked, if I get the inner court assessment quota, then wouldn't Brother Bai Li's efforts be in vain? There? Bai Lishi shook his head and said, I have some connections with the pill room's elder. When he gave me this mission, he gave me 2 slots. So, Brother Fong, you can rest assured. If that's the case, I'm relieved. Fong Qingshan seemed to heave a sigh of relief. He said to Bai Lishi, all right, I agree. When do we leave? How's tomorrow? Bai Lishi said, I know the rough location of a 9 serene green phosphorus grass. We should go there early and return early, lest something unexpected happens. All right. Fong Qingshan naturally had no objections to this. After chatting for a while, Bai Lishi took his leave. Fong Qingshan urged him to stay for a while before sending him out of the courtyard. Seeing Bai Lishi's gradually disappearing figure, the smile on Fong Qingshan's face slowly disappeared. He could not help but squint as he turned around and entered the courtyard. He could not help but let out a cold snort. Interesting. Fong Qingshan sat on his bed, rubbing his chin as he pondered. There was no such thing as gratuitous hatred or gratuitous love in the world. He had just joined the Ascension Realm's outer sect. His interactions were limited to Fong Qingwei, Lu Jianye, and Wang Mingyang. Aside from the great Su royal family, he had offended no one else. He had just asked if there was an intersect assessment mission yesterday. Today, Bai Lishi had delivered himself to his doorstep. What a coincidence! As for Bai Lishi's words, Fong Qingshan did not believe them at all. There were hundreds of thousands of disciples in the Ascension Realm's outer sect. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Although Fong Qingshan did not belittle himself, he would not overestimate himself either. Fong Qingshan had learned about the 9 serene green phosphorus grass from the various worlds, and this was indeed the case. However, a mere 9 serene green phosphorus grass could be exchanged for 2 spots in the intersect assessment. Fong Qingshan did not believe this at all. Furthermore, Bai Lishi did not look for anyone else but someone who had just joined the Ascension Realm. He did not know what was good or evil. This was simply a joke. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. However, Fong Qingshan had not offended Bai Lishi, and there was nothing for him to spy on. Fong Qingshan thought about it and vaguely felt that this hidden undercurrent was not directed at him, but at Fong Qingxue. At first, Fong Qingshan did not think of this. However, when he thought about how Bai Lishi said that he had some relationship with the Alchemy Chamber Elder, as well as how the original novel mentioned that Jinshitai was the backer of the 7 or 8 outer sect disciples that Fong Qingshan met when he joined the Ascension sect, his father was the Alchemy Chamber Elder. After connecting the dots, Fong Qingshan felt that Jinshitai was trying to use him to threaten Fong Qingxue. After all, in the original novel, Jinshitai was prepared to work together with Wang Molin of the Demon God sect to deal with Fong Qingxue. Interesting. Although this was only Fong Qingshan's guess, he felt that it was not far from the truth. Although Fong Qingshan discovered that Jinshitai was targeting Fong Qingxue, he did not go and report it. Firstly, he did not have any concrete evidence. Secondly, there was no need. With Fong Qingxue's intelligence, how could she not be on guard? Furthermore, he and Ing Xiantian had exchanged cultivation techniques. Their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. Any schemes would be paper tigers in front of absolute strength. On the other hand, it would be dangerous for him. However, Fong Qingshan did not take it to heart. A horse wouldn't get fat without grass at night, and a man wouldn't get rich without a windfall. He planned to beat them at their own game and eat them black. After all, killing and arson was a golden belt. As for his own safety, Fong Qingshan was not too worried. To deal with someone who was not even in the spirit-detecting realm, it was obvious that the person sent would not be in the divine ability realm. After all, that would be overkill. Furthermore, Jinshitai would not be able to move. As for those below the divine ability realm, it would be someone like Wang Molin of the Demon God sect, who was only a step away from the divine ability realm. As long as it was not someone in the divine ability realm, once he left the Ascension sect, with the all-heaven chessboard protecting him, Fang Qingshan would not be afraid of any schemes. As for the grade of the all-heaven chessboard, Fang Qingshan could not judge it well. However, it was definitely not inferior to any Dao artifact or immortal artifact. Even if Fang Qingshan's strength was limited and could not fully display its power, he could still display a portion of it. It would not be inferior to a cosmic artifact. With the element of surprise, anyone below the divine ability realm would basically be invincible. Chapter 92. The sun was warm, and white clouds floated above. Outside the Ascension Immortal Gate, two immortal cranes soared into the sky. Sitting on them were Fang Qingshan and Bai Lishi. There were all sorts of immortal courtyards in the outer city. There was the immortal treading courtyard, the quiet immortal courtyard, the immortal crane courtyard, and so on. As the name suggested, the immortal crane courtyard was a place to feed immortal cranes. Its purpose was to make it convenient for outer disciples to use when they went on missions. After all, it would be very troublesome to travel long distances without reaching the transcendent secret realm. Even with all sorts of flying swords and spirit tools, it would be fine for a short period of time. However, after a long time, no one would be able to endure it. The drain on essence energy would be too great. Hence, it was necessary to have an immortal crane as a mount. Although these red-crowned cranes were not demons, they were still spiritual beasts. Furthermore, they were specially used as mounts. They soared through the sky at an extremely fast speed, leaving one mountain range after another behind them. Along the way, they ate and slept in the open, not stopping at all. 3 days later, a chain of mountains appeared in front of them. These mountains looked very strange. They were completely red and covered in strange rocks. Looking into the distance, not a single blade of grass grew. "All right, we have arrived. Let's go down." Bai Lishi revealed an expression of joy as he reminded Xiao Chun. "Junior brother, be careful later." Fang Qingshan nodded. When the immortal cranes landed, it was a completely different world. The belly of the mountain seemed boundless, like a plain. It was actually an underground world. Shwa, shwa, shwa. Fang Qingshan and Bai Lishi's arrival seemed to have startled the native creatures. Countless bats flew up from the strange rocks, like locusts filling the sky. "Be careful," Bai Lishi shouted, and the sword on his back was unsheathed with a clang. Following that, there was the sound of crashing waves. A sword light soared into the sky, like a flood breaking through a dam, going against the flow of bats. At the same time, Fang Qingshan also drew the demon-slaying sword on his back. With a flick of his wrist, the Taiji sword appeared in his hand. Movement and stillness were in harmony, and the sword's circles were continuous. Every move and stance was natural and looked ordinary, without any subtlety to speak of. It was just drawing circles in the air, top circle, bottom circle, left circle, right circle, oblique circle, straight circle, and so on. However, in an instant, a Taiji diagram formed above his head. The bats charging over had already entered the range of the sword's circle. It was like they were drunk and had sunk into a swamp. With one attacking and the other defending, Fang Qingshan and Yi Zichen easily dealt with the first wave of attacks from the underground world. Brother Fang's swordsmanship is exquisite. It seems to me that it comes from the same source as the fist technique he used on Prince Zhuang that day. Bai Lishi could not help but praise Fang Qingshan when he saw how easily he dealt with the bat's attack. Bai Yang Yang and Bai Yang Star Mountain and Bai Yang Qingshan Dragon Yang, Bai Wu and Wenhe said, and the two chatted happily as they entered the depths of the dark land. Although the underground world was underground, it was not like the underworld. It was not completely dark, there was light. However, it was different from the sun, moon, and stars above. Here, mushroom-like plants gave off light. They were like fireflies giving off a gentle light. This brought a trace of light to the underground world. Brother Fong, be careful. There are dangers everywhere in this underground world. There are endless dangers hidden in the darkness. There are many demonic beasts that can pounce on you at any time. If you're not careful, you might fail miserably in an easy task. However, the danger is proportional to the rewards. This underground world is very dangerous, but there are also many fortuitous encounters. There are rich ores, 10,000-year-old frost iron, black crystal, purple silver, essence gold, brilliant white steel, earth crystal, azure falling stone, tidal jade, and many other rare natural treasures. These are all necessary materials for refining flying swords and magic tools. They can even aid cultivation and strengthen one's mental state. There are all sorts of strange demonic beasts. The blood of some demonic beasts is the best material for refining medicinal pills. If we are lucky, we might be able to pick the 9 serene green phosphorus grass and even obtain some natural treasures. As Bai Lishi spoke, he took out a rat-like pet from his bosom. This is? Fong Qingshan asked curiously as he blinked. This is a treasure-seeking rat. Bai Lishi smiled proudly. Treasure-seeking rat? When Fong Qingshan heard this, he could not help but feel astonished. According to the introduction of the various worlds, although the treasure-seeking rat did not have much combat prowess, it was very intelligent, no weaker than an adult. It had a sensitive sense of smell, shocking vision, good at tunneling underground, and extremely fast speed. Most importantly, it had an innate ability to search for treasures. Furthermore, the higher the rank of the treasure-seeking rat, the stronger its ability to search for treasures. With a treasure-seeking rat, one would not lack cultivation resources for the early stages. With a treasure-seeking rat, one would not have to worry about resources. With a treasure-seeking rat, one would not have to worry about resources. Fong Qingshan could not help but feel envious. When Bai Lishi saw Fong Qingshan's envious gaze, he felt even more pleased. Bai Lishi was not worried that Fong Qingshan would kill him and snatch the treasure-seeking rat. This was because the treasure-seeking rat could only recognize a master once in its life. If its master died, it would die as well. Hence, Bai Lishi was willing to take out the treasure-seeking rat. ZZ! The moment the little fellow was released, it cried out happily. Then, it disappeared with a flash of light. Huh? Let's go. The treasure-seeking rat found something good. When Bai Lishi saw this, his eyes lit up. He called out to Fong Qingshan and quickly chased after the treasure-seeking rat. Following Bai Lishi's senses, Fong Qingshan and Bai Lishi arrived before the treasure-seeking rat. When they saw a lotus flower blossoming not far away, their eyes lit up as they recognized it. This was the empty mountain Ganoderma. Although it could not compare to the 9 nether phosphorus grass, it was still a rare treasure that could cleanse one's energy and solidify one's foundation. However, what made the two wary was that after the treasure-seeking rat discovered the empty mountain Ganoderma, it did not move forward. Instead, it stood in the distance exchanging pointers. Fong Qingshan and Bai Lishi exchanged glances and saw a trace of wariness in each other's eyes. The treasure-seeking rat had a keen sense of smell. Hence, it could discover natural treasures that humans could not easily discover. Hence, it could sense danger that was hard to detect. At this moment, the treasure-seeking rat had clearly discovered the empty mountain Ganoderma, but it did not dare to move forward. There could only be one reason. There was danger there. Brother Bai Lishi, hold the line for me. I'll go and take a look. Fong Qingshan said. All right. Bai Lishi nodded. Fong Qingshan carefully approached the empty mountain Ganoderma, keeping his guard up. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. It looked like Xiao Chan was about to touch the Ganoderma when he suddenly felt a throbbing in his heart. Be careful! Bai Lishi's shout entered Xiao Chen's ears. Fong Qingshan subconsciously flicked his sword, and a whirlpool instantly formed in front of him. Pa! It was like an arrow had been fired, but was neutralized by Fong Qingshan's pulling force. Following that, Fong Qingshan flicked his wrist, and his sword moved like a flower. Then, he chopped down and the two halves of the snake fell to the ground. Chapter 93. So, it is a dark shadow snake. When Fang Qingshan and Bai Lishi saw this thing, they immediately recognized it. According to the various worlds, the dark shadow snake did not have much offensive or defensive power. However, it was very good at assassination. The Skyhill Ganoderma was the best at blending in with the dark environment, catching others off guard. Furthermore, it was very patient and could launch sneak attacks. If Fang Qingshan had not been so close to touching the Skyhill Ganoderma would not have made a move. Of course, if that were all, there would be nothing to be afraid of. However, this thing was not just good at hiding and assassinating. More importantly, it was very fast. Furthermore, it had a venomous fang that could pierce through defenses. Once bitten, even a divine transformation stage expert would lose their combat prowess for a while. Today, if it wasn't for the treasure-seeking rat, which made Fang Qingshan and Zhang Xian wary, they might have really failed miserably. Fang Qingshan shook his head. Then, he used the demon-slaying sword to pick out the dark shadow snake's fang and venom sac. These two items were very precious materials for refining flying swords. With Bai Lishi and the treasure-seeking rat leading the way, Fang Qingshan's group managed to make their way to the 9 serene green phosphorus grass without any mishaps. Along the way, the treasure-seeking rat occasionally discovered 1 or 2 natural treasures. Although some of them were not very precious, it was better than nothing. Along the way, the greatest danger the two encountered was a fight between 2 groups of underground demons, which nearly dragged them in. The weakest of these underground demons was no weaker than the divine energy puppet that Fang Qingshan encountered in the outer sect exam. Fortunately, the treasure-seeking rat warned them. The two hid in the shadows, waiting for the underground demons to finish fighting before coming out. However, even as they watched from the shadows, the two still felt fearful. These underground demons were all as strong as divine energy. The stronger ones even had spiritual connections, and the leader was a divine transformation stage expert. Their intelligence was already very high. Under the command of a demon general, the underground demon soldiers could even form formations and use all sorts of tactics, improving their overall strength. Whoosh! After the 2 groups of people left, Fang Qingshan and his companion walked out after a while. They looked at each other and let out a long sigh of relief. They continued to move forward. After about half a day, their expressions suddenly changed. Fang Qingshan heard a violent roar. In the darkness ahead, a procession of long torches appeared. It looked like a flaming dragon as it walked towards them. Under the illumination of the distant fire, Fang Qingshan could clearly see that they were tall and large underground demon dwellers. However, these demon dwellers held torches in one hand and steel pitchforks in the other. Their backs were slightly bulging like 2 big meat buns. These devil dwellers were different from the 2 groups of devil dwellers he had encountered before. They were Yikshas. Yikshas were equivalent to Valor God realm experts. If there were only 1 or 2 of them, or even 3 or 5 of them, they would still be able to deal with them. However, if there were more than 10 of them in a group, the 2 of them would have no choice but to dodge. After all, this was the underground world. If they could not deal with the problem quickly, it could easily trigger a chain reaction. If they startled a strong existence, the 2 of them would be in deep trouble. Although they managed to dodge the group of Yikshas, Fang Qingshan did not relax. Instead, he frowned. He had a vague feeling that something bad was about to happen. Indeed, in the next 2 hours, they ran into a few more groups of Yikshas. "Brother Bai Lishi, are we going the wrong way?" Fang Qingshan asked. "No. Brother Fang, don't worry. We will be arriving soon," Bai Lishi said with certainty, a confident expression on his face. "Is that so?" Fang Qingshan shrugged his shoulders. He did not believe Bai Lishi's words at all. He realized that he had been too careless. He suddenly remembered that in the original work, Fang Han had followed Fang Qingxue to train in the underground world. When Fang Qingxue saw the Yikshas, she had said that this was a group of Yikshas. It looked like they were not far from the divine beast altar. When he thought about how Wang Molin seemed to be cultivating at the divine beast altar, Fang Qingshan finally understood what was going on. Junior brother Fang, why are you not moving? Bai Lishi asked in astonishment when he saw Fang Qingshan remain where he was. Hurry up, we will be arriving soon. Yes, we will be arriving soon, Fang Qingshan said firmly. I just don't know if we will reach the 9 serene phosphorus grass or the divine beast altar. How do you know? Bai Lishi clearly did not expect Fang Qingshan to know that the divine beast altar was in front. He was stunned for a moment, but he did not panic. He stood there calmly, not worried that Fang Qingshan would attack him out of anger. Brother Bai Lishi, you are working for senior brother Jin, right? I'm very curious. You led me into a trap. How are you going to leave? Furthermore, are you not afraid that senior brother Jin will silence me? Or do you think that big sister will be easy to talk to after something happens to me? Fang Qingshan asked calmly. I did not expect you to discover the problem. Unfortunately, it is too late. When Fang Qingshan heard this, he raised his eyebrows. This voice was very different from Bai Lishi's earlier voice. Who are you? Fang Qingshan asked sullenly. Since you are so smart, why don't you make a guess? Bai Lishi smiled. Jin Shirtai. Although Fang Qingshan asked, he was very certain. Only at this moment did he come to a sudden realization. No wonder he said that after experiencing the incident of Fang Qingxue killing 7 or 8 outer court disciples with a single slash, there were actually still people who dared to plot against her. They were simply too audacious. It turned out that Bai Lishi's heart had changed a long time ago, and he was controlled by the metal and stone platform. Oh, you guessed it. Indeed, you are worthy of being Fang Qingshue's younger brother. Jin Shirtai nodded in praise. I didn't expect an heir disciple to scheme against me, an outer disciple who had just joined the sect. Should I be flattered? Fang Qingshan said with a smile. Plot against you? Jin Shirtai shook his head. You think too highly of yourself. Not me? Could it be my big sister? Fang Qingshan did not get angry. There is also the golden pill of 9 orifices in the underworld painting. As soon as he finished speaking, a young man in black with a cold expression walked out with a dark green gourd on his waist. Do you think the golden pill of 9 orifices and the underworld painting are in the hands of my family? Fang Qingshan asked curiously. Is it not so? Jin Shirtai said lightly. Paper can't wrap up fire, and there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. Moreover, in just 3 months, you've turned from a congenitally deficient person with no foundation into such a powerful and courageous master. Didn't you take the 9 apertures golden pill? Fang Qingshan did not deny it. Instead, he asked, even if it was a peerless Dao tool like the underworld painting would not be in my hands. Moreover, I have already consumed the golden pill of 9 orifices. What can you get by doing so much? Chapter 94. You took it? Wang Molin cackled. Our demon god sect doesn't lack methods to refine mortal pellets. As long as we push you into the furnace, you'll return to your original state, and we'll be able to refine the golden pill of 9 orifices. If something happens to you, won't your big sister come looking for you? By following the clues, we are already waiting for her. Jin Shirtai added. She will not fall into my bowl obediently if I wait for her to be exhausted. There's one thing I don't understand. Fang Qingshan nodded his head. Since Bai Lishi is under your control, why go through so much trouble to deal with me? Dealing with you is easy, but dealing with Fang Qingxue is troublesome. That's why I invited brother Wang Molin to help. Jin Shirtai narrowed his eyes and coldly said, with the 2 of us and the thousands of underground demons around the demon god altar, Fang Qingxue won't be able to escape even if she grows wings. As he spoke, a cold light flashed across Jin Shirtai's eyes. That slut, Fang Qingxue, actually dared to ignore me and get involved with Ying Tianqing. How preposterous. I just want to take her body and mind, conquer her, and make her a cat by my side. Fang Qingshan couldn't help shaking his head. He was wondering why Fang Qingxue and Jin Shirtai had enmity. It turned out that it was love that turned into hatred. Fong Qingshan couldn't help secretly despising Jin Shirtai for wanting to win Fong Qingshue's favor with such a mentality. As a core disciple of the Ascension sect, you colluded with demons and schemed against your own sect. Jin Shirtai, do you think that Elder Tianxing is just a decoration? Fong Qingshan sneered. Aren't the so-called sect rules just decorations? They're only made for incompetent people. How many times has Hua Tiandu violated the sect rules? I don't see anyone doing anything to him. Jin Shirtai continued. Furthermore, I'm not going to kill Fong Qingxue. I'm just controlling her. What's wrong with that? Fong Qingshan was silent for a moment, then said lightly, Are you so sure that you can plot against my big sister? Are you so sure that you've got me? Jin Shirtai and Wang Molan looked at each other and could not help but burst into laughter. Fong Qingxue even gave you the golden elixir of 9 orifices, and you didn't disappoint either. In just 3 months, you've cultivated from a defenseless person to the level of divine valor, half a step into the psychic realm. With such talent, let alone the fact that you're her relative, I don't believe that she won't obediently fall into my trap with you as a hostage. Jin Shirtai looked at Fong Qingshan with a faint smile. As for us eating you, do you have the power to reverse the situation? You're just a cultivator at the level of divine valor, and you don't have any powerful magical equipment. Any team of Yikshas can kill you here, let alone the 2 of us. Even if Mount Tai collapses in front of you, your expression will not change, and your eyes will not blink. In such a dangerous situation, not only are you not afraid, you're even talking with confidence. Now, I have more hope that I can use you to plot against Fong Qingxue. Wang Molan smiled. Furthermore, you don't have to count on Fong Qingxue suddenly appearing. Brother Jin's real body is at the Emergence Mountain Gate, constantly watching her. Is that so? Looking at the 2 who seem to have everything under control, Fong Qingshan suddenly smiled. Those who plot against others will always plot against themselves. Did you guys predict that you'll fail miserably today, going for wool and coming home shorn? What do you mean? Jin Shirtai and Wang Molan were confused, but they had a bad premonition in their hearts. However, they could not guess what Fong Qingshan, a mere cultivator at the level of divine valor, could do to turn the tables. What do I mean? Fong Qingshan said word by word. It means that all of you can die. As soon as he finished speaking, a chessboard suddenly rose above Fong Qingshan's head. The vast aura caused Wang Molan and Jin Shirtai's expressions to change drastically. Although the 2 did not have a Dao artifact, they had seen one before. Even the best Dao artifact could not compare to this magical equipment. The difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. How is this possible? The same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. Fong Qingshan actually had such a precious treasure in his hands. Following that, the 2 of them could not help but be overjoyed. They originally wanted to scheme against Fong Qingxue and obtain the top-grade Dao artifact, the diagram of Underworld Flood Dragon. It was rumored that this object was the decree of the Underworld Emperor and contained a huge secret. If anyone could obtain the secret, they would be able to obtain the legacy of the Underworld Emperor and reunite the disintegrated Underworld sect and become the new generation of Demon Emperor. They had not seen the diagram of Underworld Flood Dragon, but they did not expect that Fong Qingshan actually had an even more powerful treasure on him. It was truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching and finding it by chance. If they could obtain this treasure, forget about Fong Qingxue, Ying Qing Tian, or even Hua Tiandu, so what? Looking at the expressions on the 2's faces, from shock, aghast, to disbelief, to ecstasy, Fong Qingshan could not help but shake his head. Although Jin Shirtu was in the Divine Ability Secret Realm, a direct disciple, and Wang Molan was not weaker than the top 10 of the Mountain River list of the Ascension sect, but in terms of temperament they were too lacking. The treasure was too dazzling. They only saw the benefits of obtaining the treasure, but did not think that since Fong Qingshan dared to reveal such a treasure, how could he not have a way to clean up the mess? Go! Fong Qingshan lightly shouted and pointed from afar. On the chessboard, the only 2 pieces that were flickering with light, the one with the weaker light flew into the sky and smashed towards Wang Molan and Jin Shirtu. The hare leaped, and the falcon descended, in a flash. From the time Feng Qingshan revealed the heavens chessboard to the time when the chess piece representing the Sky Dragon world flew out, everything was completed in an instant. Originally, they were still ecstatic, as though they were about to obtain a treasure that was even more powerful than a top-grade Dao artifact. But Jin Shirtu and Wang Molin's expressions finally changed. But this time, it was not ecstasy, but shock. As the chess piece landed, the space seemed to have solidified, not to mention dodging. Even moving was difficult. They wanted to escape, wanted to take out their treasures, but it was too late. Bang! A loud sound came out, as though a comet had collided with the earth. Within a radius of a few hundred li, everything turned into ruins in an instant. Jin Shirtu, Wang Molin, and even the nearby Yikshas were all annihilated by the Sky Dragon chess piece. In the ruins, the only one who was safe and sound was Feng Qingshan, who had the protection of the heavens chessboard. At that moment, he was also dumbstruck as he looked at the scene in front of him. Although he knew that the heavens chessboard was very powerful and was the best choice for offense, defense, and support, but looking at the effect, Feng Qingshan subconsciously swallowed his saliva. And this was the Sky Dragon world, a chess piece that represented a low martial world. What if it was a chess piece that represented the immortal world, a chess piece that represented sealed gods, a chess piece that represented desolation? Thinking about it, Feng Qingshan could not help but tremble. Chapter 95. Alas, it's a pity that I can't use it continuously. The next time I want to use the Celestial Dragon chess piece, it will take a while. Feng Qingshan thought greedily. He didn't think about it. When other people used magic weapons, they needed to activate them themselves. The power of the magic weapons depended on their cultivation. However, the All-Heaven chessboard was different. Activating the chess pieces to attack did not need to consume the host's magic power at all. His attacks, on the other hand, consumed luck. This was equivalent to a talisman attack. If he attacked continuously in a short period of time, he would not be able to survive. Fortunately, the luck of the Celestial Dragon world was rolling like a tide. It would not take long for it to recover. Feng Qingshan could sense that there was a stream of luck being injected into the All-Heaven chessboard every moment. He knew that this should be the result of the combined efforts of Xianxin, Feng Shu, Xiaoyao, and the Ming cult when he left that day. If Feng Shu could really carry forward the Ming cult in the end, or even unify the world like Zhu Yuanzhang and let the people of the whole country worship him, the power of the Celestial Dragon chess piece would not only continue to increase, but he could also get a stable source of luck. Ah! Feng Qingshan suddenly exclaimed. It was because he found that in addition to the chess pieces of the immortal world and the Celestial Dragon world, the third chess piece had also been lit up. How is this possible? The luck of the Celestial Dragon world had been consumed. In a short period of time, it would not provide him with any help at all. Feng Qingshan couldn't understand why the third world would suddenly be lit up. In fact, what he didn't know was that more than a month had passed here, and more than a year had passed in the Celestial Dragon world. Under the joint efforts of the Xiaoyao school and the Ming cult, Feng Qingshan had become a kind of faith, especially in the Xixia country. How could the luck not roll in when the whole country was worshipped? Therefore, the third chess piece was actually about to be lit up unknowingly. In addition, he joined the emergent sect. Feng Qingshua's strength improved by leaps and bounds, and Feng Han grew stronger day by day. In particular, he had just used the Heavenly Dragon chess piece to kill the Heavenly Wolf Jr. perfected Wang Molin and the avatar of the Golden Stone platform, as well as the hundreds and thousands of Yikshas within a radius of hundreds of kilometers. Everyone had luck, no matter how much, especially Wang Molin and Jin Shirtai. Although they were not as lucky as Feng Han and Feng Qingxue, they were definitely stronger than the main characters of Sky Dragon World, Duan Yu and Xiaofeng, killing people and stealing their luck. Feng Qingshan had killed them, so their karmic luck had naturally been transferred to him. This was also why the third world had suddenly lit up. Although Feng Qingshan didn't fully understand it, he had some guesses. That's great. I wonder where the third world is. Throwing the question to the back of his mind, Fong Qingshan could not wait to find out what the third world was. But before that, Fong Qingshan wanted to collect his spoils of war. Originally, he had taken the risk to kill and set fire to the Golden Belt to replenish his resources. But the result was disappointing. Fong Qingshan came to Jin Shirtai and Wang Molin's side. Other than Wang Molin's 7 Evils gourd, there was nothing left. Fortunately, I didn't make a loss. Fong Qingshan felt lucky. He picked up the 7 Evils gourd and secretly made up his mind to use the all-heaven chessboard cautiously in the future. Not only could he not rely on it too much, but it was also too destructive. With one move, all the good things would be destroyed. Buzz! Suddenly, a vast aura soared into the sky from afar. A powerful demonic aura covered the sky and covered the entire underground plane. This is... Fong Qingshan's expression changed drastically. Demon God, alter! He didn't expect that his summoning of the all-heaven chessboard would cause such a huge commotion. Kill Wang Molin and annihilate hundreds and thousands of Yikshas would actually alarm the Demon God altar. Looking at the overwhelming demonic aura, a huge change occurred. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but feel regret. If he had known, he would have immediately fled 1,000 miles after killing them. But now it was too late. At this moment, he finally understood how Wang Molin and the rest felt. Under the aura of the demon god, Fong Qingshan felt like he was carrying the blue sky on his back. He almost fell to his knees and crawled on the ground like an ostrich, burying his head deep into the ground. He couldn't move, and he couldn't escape. Although this wasn't the true body of the demon god, even if it was a clone, it wasn't something he could deal with. Moreover, it was different from Wang Molin and Jin Shirtai. Fong Qingshan felt that even if the heavenly dragon world was intact, he wouldn't be able to deal with the demon god's clone. What should I do? What should I do? Thousands of thoughts flashed through Fong Qingshan's mind. He was momentarily in a mess. If he was caught by the demon god, he would be in trouble. Even if he managed to escape with the help of the heaven's chessboard, Fong Qingshan wouldn't have an easy time in the future. Thinking back, Fong Han had only exposed a demonic artifact at the beginning, and he was almost schemed against by Senior Sister Mo and the rest. If he exposed the heaven's chessboard, even the demon god, the demon ancestor, and the sect leaders of the 10 immortal sects would covet it. Heaven's chessboard, heaven's chessboard. Looking at the demonic aura permeating in the distance, the dense black demonic aura billowed everywhere, condensing into demonic sabers one moment, various demonic beasts the next, all sorts of strange and ferocious demonic elephants the next. The demonic god's clone was about to descend. Fong Qingshan's quick wits finally came up with a solution. Go! With a thought, the heaven's chessboard in Fong Qingshan's mind, which represented the third piece that was lit up, suddenly shone brightly and released a ray of light that enveloped Fong Qingshan. Then it suddenly retracted. In an instant, Fong Qingshan disappeared. He's gone? The moment Fong Qingshan disappeared, the demonic clouds above the demon god altar gathered towards the center and condensed into a solid body. This solid body was a tall man in black clothes with a perfect physique. His long purplish-black hair fluttered in the wind, especially his eyes, which seemed to have a magical power that could suck a person's soul. This was the clone of the sect master of the demon god sect, one of the 5 great demon Taoists. The demon god swept his gaze around. With the demon god altar as the center, he could see everything within thousands of miles. However, he couldn't find anything strange. The demon god grabbed, and a Yiksha landed before him. He pressed his palm on the Yiksha's forehead. In an instant, he knew everything that the Yiksha saw. Interesting. The demon god muttered to himself, then turned to Azura, who was guarding the altar, and instructed, guard the altar well. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared. After all, he wasn't idling around. He was still suppressing the 9 demon, one of the strongest demon gods in the starry sky. If he could refine it, he would be one step closer to becoming an immortal. Chapter 96. I didn't expect it to be this side of the world. When Fong Qingshan woke up again, he was lying in a slightly shabby bamboo building. Fong Qingshan first checked his body and found that there was nothing wrong with it. Even the seven evils gourd was still on his waist. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Then he checked which side of the world he had come to. It doesn't matter. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but take a breath. He didn't know whether to say that he was lucky or not. He actually came to the world of Shushan. Shushan World. This is a world almost at the same level as a mortal world. And in the early days of a mortal world, even immortals rarely appeared. In the world of Shushan, not to mention immortals, even golden immortals often walk in the world. The most important thing is that in Shushan, they're the best at calculation. They don't dare to say that they know everything, but they can also calculate about 70 or 80%. Fortunately, Fong Qingshan has the all-heaven chessboard, a treasure of luck, and his current cultivation base is low, and he is still in the first step of refining essence into qi, which is not very eye-catching. Unfortunately, I can only stay here for about half a year. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but feel a little regretful. The world on the all-heaven chessboard can be entered as long as it is lit up, but the length of time you can stay depends on the accumulation of your own luck. The more abundant the luck, the longer the stay. The less the luck, the shorter the stay. Of course, this length is also related to the world level. For example, Fong Qingshan can only stay in Shushan for about half a year. If he is in the Heavenly Dragon, he can stay for at least 3 or 5 years. Of course, this is the first time to enter, and if you want to enter for the second time, unless you break through the Great Realm, or someone in this world calls you, it will be difficult to enter again. Therefore, Fong Qingshan is very regretful. If it weren't for escaping from the demon god, he would not have entered the world of Shushan in such a hurry and wasted such a great opportunity. Forget it. Since I'm here, I'll take it easy. Fong Qingshan shook his head and calmed his mind. Half a year isn't long, but it's not short either. I'd better find out where I am first. Just as Fong Qingshan was deep in thought and planning for the future, his ears suddenly twitched. He raised his eyes and looked out the door. A man and a woman walked in. The man was tall and burly, looking a little valiant. The woman could not be said to be ugly, but she had a capable temperament. She was holding a bowl of something in her hand, which seemed to be medicinal soup. From afar, they could smell an unpleasant smell. "You're awake." When they saw Fong Qingshan open his eyes, their eyes lit up. "Drink this bowl of medicine while it's hot." The woman came to Fong Qingshan's side and prepared to feed him the medicine. "Thank you, big sister. I'll do it myself." Fong Qingshan quickly took the bowl of medicine from the woman's hand and drank it in one gulp. After exchanging a few more words, the woman retreated. The man stepped forward and asked, "My name is Bao Dashin. May I know little brother's name? Where are you from? Why have you come to such a desolate place like the southern border?" The southern border? From the man's words, Fong Qingshan instantly understood where he was. The southern border of Shu Mountain was famous for 2 places. One was the 100 Barbarians Mountain's old ancestor in the green robe, and the other was the red-haired old ancestor in the Redwood Ridge. I didn't expect to enter Shu Mountain here. I just don't know if it's near the 100 Barbarians Mountain or the red-haired old ancestor. If it's near the Redwood Ridge, it's fine. After all, the red-haired old ancestor belongs to a side sect. Although there are good and bad people in the sect, they still follow the rules. If it's near the 100 Barbarians Mountain, I'll be in trouble. The green-robe old ancestor and his group eat people. With my current cultivation, if I meet them, I'm afraid I'll only be a prisoner. Little brother, little brother? Seeing that Fong Qingshan did not respond for a long time, the man could not help but wave his hand in front of Fong Qingshan. Fong Qingshan came back to his senses and could not help but smile awkwardly. "Sorry, I was distracted. I am Fong Qingshan, originally from Chengdu, Sichuan." Fong Qingshan made up an excuse and said, "Since childhood, I have loved the path of immortals. Unfortunately, because of my talent, although Chengdu is near Mount Amei and there are large immortal sects, I have no fate to enter." After pausing for a while, Fong Qingshan continued, "Although Mount Amei did not accept me, it did not dispel my desire to seek the path of immortals. Not long ago, I heard that there was a place called the Redwood Ridge in the southern border. There was an expert in the mountain, so I hurried over, who knew that in the end, not only did I not find the Redwood Ridge, but I also fainted because of the miasma. Fortunately, Big Brother Bao saved me. Otherwise, I would have become food in the mouths of wild beasts. So little brother wants to go to the Redwood Ridge to learn martial arts. Bao Dashan heard Fong Qingshan's words and could not help but come to a sudden realization. What? Big Brother also knows about the Redwood Ridge? Fong Qingshan was overjoyed and quickly asked, I know. How could I not know? Our village is under the protection of the Redwood Ridge. Bao Dashan spoke of the Redwood Ridge with a respectful expression. Then, I wonder if Big Brother can help introduce me to it? Fong Qingshan quickly asked. I'm afraid not. Bao Dashan shook his head. There is a difference between immortals and mortals. How can a mortal like me go to the Redwood Ridge? Not to mention introducing me. Oh. Fong Qingshan could not help but feel a little disappointed. Of course, this was because he wanted to act like a person seeking the path of immortals. However, he did not feel anything in his heart because he did not have much hope in saying these words. However, although he did not have much hope, the man saw that Fong Qingshan was a little lonely and could not help but change the topic. Although I can't introduce you, my brother can. What? Is this true? Fong Qingshan was immediately overjoyed and pulled Bao Dashan with a trace of doubt in his eyes. This is naturally true. Seeing Fong Qingshan's doubtful expression, Bao Dashan immediately became unhappy. Although my brother, Bao Dajiang, has not been able to become an immortal, he is an expert in finding and identifying medicinal herbs. Within a radius of several thousand li, he is unparalleled. He often helps a mortal master solve some problems and is highly regarded by a mortal master. If he were to introduce you to a mortal master, what are the chances of success? That's great. As long as Big Brother Bao can let your brother introduce me, I am willing to give you this sword. As Fong Qingshan spoke, he handed over the demon-slaying sword. This, actually, when he was saving Fong Qingshan, Bao Dashan had already discovered that this sword was very powerful. However, because he was simple and kind, he did not take the opportunity to kill and steal the sword. However, this did not mean that he did not want it. It should be known that in the southern land, there were many ferocious beasts, snakes, and insects. A divine weapon could greatly increase one's sense of security. Chapter 97. All right, I will send a message to my brother and ask him to come. Bao Dashan could not resist the temptation and immediately agreed. But there is one thing. When Bao Dashan reached the door, he suddenly paused and turned around. He said hesitantly, even with my brother's recommendation, there is no guarantee that little brother will be able to join the Redwood Ridge. After hearing Bao Dashan's words and seeing the reluctance in his eyes as he looked at the demon-slaying sword, how could Fong Qingshan not know what Bao Dashan meant? He could not help but smile and say, Don't worry, big brother. As long as you can recommend me, I will be extremely grateful. Regardless of whether I succeed or fail, the demon-slaying sword is yours. To the man, the demon-slaying sword was very precious. However, to Fong Qingshan, it was basically useless. After all, it was just a magic tool. Furthermore, the man had saved him and did not have any greedy thoughts. Giving the demon-slaying sword to him was not a big deal. Then I will go and inform my brother. Little brother, wait for the good news. After receiving Fong Qingshan's confirmation, Bao Dajiang smiled embarrassedly. He then patted his chest and told Fong Qingshan to wait for the good news. Seeing Bao Dajiang's figure leave, Fong Qingshan calmed down and thought about how he should spend the next half a year. Just now, he had found a passable excuse because he heard that he was in the southern border. He did not expect that he would really be hooked up with the Redwood Ridge. The problem he had to consider now was how to improve his cultivation after joining the Redwood Ridge. The reason why he was considering joining the Redwood Ridge instead of going to Mount Shu and Mount Amei to try his luck was because the time he had was too short. With his current cultivation, half a year's time would probably be more than half a year's time. Besides, there was at least a referral opportunity in Hongmu Ridge. If he went to places like Mount Amei, he could only try his luck. Most importantly, Mount Amei did not only require talent, but also a clean background. His methods of deceiving men would not work on the people of Mount Amei. If he failed to become Mount Amei's disciple, he would be like a sheep walking into a tiger's den. Of course, more importantly, when Fang Qingshan carefully thought about how the Redwood Ridge could help him, he suddenly realized that coming to the Redwood Ridge was actually the best choice for him. Although the Redwood Ridge could not be compared to a famous sect like the Amei sect, they still had a leader like the red-haired old ancestor. Furthermore, they even had a treasure like the sky demonic blood saber. Of course, none of this had much to do with Fang Qingshan. What was really related to him was that he suddenly remembered that there was a dragon elephant near the rotten peach mountain of the red-haired old ancestor of the Hongmu Ridge, and he was practicing the dragon elephant prajna art. If he could obtain the dragon elephant, study it, or even refine its blood essence, Fang Qingshan might be able to break through the secret realm of supernatural in one fell swoop. If he wanted to obtain the dragon elephant, he would first have to get close to the rotten peach mountain. This was the red-haired old ancestor's side palace, so it was not a place that anyone could casually come to. Therefore, the first step to planning for the dragon elephant was to first join the Redwood Ridge. Only then would it not be so abrupt when he went to the rotten peach mountain. Joining the Redwood Ridge was the first step. The next step was how to obtain the dragon elephant. The dragon elephant was hidden in a natural barrier, like the peach blossom miasma. Ordinary people could not do anything to it. It would be difficult to even find a trace of it unless one met someone with great immortal affinity. Needless to say, Long Xiang wasn't someone to be trifled with. Although its cultivation hadn't become an immortal yet, it wasn't easy to deal with. At the very least, it wasn't something that Fang Qingshan could shake. Therefore, if he wanted to obtain it, he could only resort to trickery. The first method was to ask for help. However, he was alone and could not afford to pay any price. Even if he joined the Redwood Ridge, asking the red-haired old ancestor to help him was basically a wishful thinking. After all, the dragon elephant was near the red-haired old ancestor's side palace. It would be a joke if the red-haired old ancestor didn't know about it. After all, how could the red-haired old ancestor allow someone to sleep beside his bed? If he could not even control his own territory, the red-haired old ancestor would not be able to live until now. Since he knew about the existence of the dragon elephant but did not make a move against it, then it was impossible for him to make a big fuss for an ordinary disciple who had just joined. The second method was to try his luck. This method was even more undesirable. Fang Qingshan was not destined to be the protagonist. If he wanted something good to fall from the sky, it would be better to hope that the red-haired old ancestor would be merciful and help him out. Therefore, there was only the third method, and that was to plot against it. He had to use something to lure the dragon elephant out, and then use poison or a magic treasure to control it. This was somewhat feasible because Fang Qingshan vaguely remembered that there seemed to be something called drunken dragon grass, which had a fatal attraction to humans and demons with the bloodline of the dragon clan. Moreover, the drunken dragon grass, as the name suggested, after eating it, it would be like drinking too much, causing one to become unconscious. The purer the dragon blood, the longer one would be unconscious. Moreover, the drunken dragon grass was in the southern border. Then, the only problem now is to find the drunken dragon grass. Fang Qingshan muttered to himself, "It seems that if I want to find the drunken dragon grass, I will have to trouble Bao Dashan's family." Although Fang Qingshan knew that the drunken dragon grass was in a certain place in the southern border, but this place was a high mountain and deep forest that stretched for tens of thousands of miles. If he were to search inch by himself, it would take a very long time. As for calculating with his fingers, Fang Qingshan did not have this kind of ability. Moreover, treasures of heaven and earth could only be obtained by fate. This saying was not just empty words. After all, these things were born from the heavens and were born with the secrets of heaven. Wanting to calculate, it was not an easy thing. But Bao Dashan's family was different, especially Bao Dajiang. According to Bao Dashan, although Bao Dajiang was not able to become an immortal, He was an expert in medicine identification. Within thousands of miles, there was no one better than him. With his help, finding the drunken dragon grass would be much faster and easier. Brother Qingshan. At this time, Bao Dashan's voice sounded from afar. Not long after, Bao Dashan walked in with a man who looked somewhat similar, but was more wise and farsighted. This person should be Bao Dajiang. Seeing the person, Fong Qingshan secretly guessed. Brother Qingshan, this is my brother Bao Dajiang. Bao Dashan introduced to both sides. Dajiang, this is Brother Qingshan. Greetings, Brother Dajiang. Greetings, Brother Qingshan. The two of them greeted each other. When Fong Qingshan was sizing up Bao Dajiang was naturally sizing up Fong Qingshan. Brother Qingshan, you want me to recommend you to enter the Redwood Ridge? Bao Dajiang asked directly. That's right. Fong Qingshan nodded. I'll have to trouble Brother Dajiang. If it succeeds, I will reward you handsomely in the future. Forget about the reward. The demon-slaying sword is enough. Bao Dajiang shook his head. But even with my recommendation, you still need to be mentally prepared. Chapter 98. Although I have some faith with those immortal masters, there is still a difference between immortals and mortals. At most, I can only pass a message to them. Whether it succeeds or not depends on you. Bao Dajiang gave Fong Qingshan a meaningful look. Ah, Brother Dajiang, don't worry. Fong Qingshan laughed. He naturally knew what Bao Dajiang meant. An immortal master did not mean that it was a peaceful place. This place was just a secular world with a different power system. If one wanted to obtain Buddhist scriptures from Tripitaka, they would have to take out a purple gold alms bowl to offer. Otherwise, it would be replaced with fake scriptures. He had asked Bao Dajiang to recommend him and was given a demon-slaying sword. If he wanted to join the Redwood Ridge, he naturally had to take out some treasures. Good, it's good that Brother Qingshan understands. Seeing that Fong Qingshan was a sensible person, Bao Dajiang also heaved a sigh of relief. After all, he was the one who recommended Fong Qingshan. If he did not know what was good for him, Bao Dajiang would also have to bear some responsibility. Then when do we leave? Fong Qingshan could only stay in Shu Mountain for half a year. Therefore, time was tight. Moreover, he was pretending to be a person who had been searching for immortality for a long time. Therefore, he naturally had to be a bit more anxious. Seeing this, Bao Dajiang laughed and said, if Brother Qingshan is willing, we can leave now. In that case, let's go now. Hearing this, Fong Qingshan quickly stood up. But, Brother Qingshan, you are not fully recovered yet. Bao Dajiang said with some worry. Big Brother Bao, don't worry. I am fine. Fong Qingshan shook his head and declined Bao Dajiang's good intentions. He immediately decided to leave with Bao Dajiang. When they reached the entrance of the village, Bao Dajiang did not leave immediately. Instead, he carefully took out 2 talismans. Seeing this, Fong Qingshan could not help but ask curiously. This is a divine traveling talisman. It was specially given to me by the immortal master. I can travel 1,000 miles in a day, Bao Dajiang said proudly before explaining. The journey to the Redwood Ridge is not short. If we walk slowly, it will take us a few days. Seeing that, Fong Qingshan could not help but nod, then said, I see, but I don't need it. Brother Dajiang only needs one. You don't need it? Bao Dajiang frowned. That's right. Even without the divine traveling talisman, I can still travel 1,000 miles a day, said Fong Qingshan with a smile. How is that possible? Bao Dajiang obviously didn't believe Fong Qingshan's words. Don't worry, Fong Qingshan comforted her. I can't wait to be your disciple. I won't lie. Hearing that, Bao Dajiang was skeptical. He put away the divine traveling talisman, cut his finger, and dripped a drop of blood on the talisman. In a split second, the divine traveling talisman ignited upon contact with the blood. The blood-red talisman on the talisman glowed brightly. In a flash, it turned into a stream of light and merged into the space between Bao Dajiang's legs. Let's go! Seeing that the talisman was effective, Bao Dajiang hurriedly called out to Fong Qingshan. He took a step forward and used shrinking distance, coming and going like the wind. When Fang Qingshan saw this, he used wave-like subtle steps and followed behind Bao Dajiang at a steady pace, not falling behind at all. Huh. Seeing that, Bao Dajiang could not help but exclaim in surprise. Brother Qingshan, you're really amazing to have such a trick. It's just a trick of the Jianghu. It can't be mentioned in the same breath as the divine powers of the immortals. Fang Qingshan shook his head. That's still not bad. Bao Dajiang could not help but feel a little envious. Although the divine traveling talisman was not bad, it was a consumable item after all. The more it was used, the less it could be used. On the other hand, Fang Qingshan's Qinggong was different. As long as he learned it, it would become his instinct. Seeing that, Fang Qingshan's heart thumped slightly, and he had a plan. They did not speak along the way. On the winding mountain road, two figures gradually approached from afar. One of them walked with a majestic gait, while the other was as light as a feather. With a flick of their sleeves, each step they took covered a distance of over 10 zhang. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the endless forest. Their clothes fluttered as if they were riding the wind. They really treated this rugged road as a flat road. Along the way, the two of them rested for a while. Bao Dajiang exchanged for another divine traveling talisman. When the second divine traveling talisman was used up, they finally arrived at the Redwood Ridge. Green cliffs opened up to the sky. Clear spring water gushed out from the ground. Their eyes were filled with green, reflecting the light of the sky. It made one's mind open up. In the distance, there was a tall mountain that pierced through the clouds. Although it was the southern wilderness, there was also a blessed land of immortals. Hey, isn't this Bao Dajiang? Why are you here? And you even brought an outsider? Before they even got close, they heard a voice coming from above. Looking up, they saw a person riding a flying tiger floating in the air. Although the voice was not loud, it was full of majesty. Greetings, immortal Master Hong. Hearing that, Bao Dajiang could not help but break out in a cold sweat. He quickly bowed and explained, "This is Fang Qingshan, who admires Tao. He wants to join the Redwood Ridge and asked me to introduce him to him." "Oh, you want to join my Redwood Ridge?" Hearing that, Immortal Master Hong could not help but look at Fang Qingshan. In a split second, an invisible pressure shrouded Fang Qingshan. Although it could not be compared to the demon god's clone, it was not inferior to Fang Qingshu's. "That's right." Hearing that, Fang Qingshan quickly said, "I have admired the immortal Tao for a long time, but I could not enter it. Fortunately, Brother Dajiang introduced me to come to the Redwood Ridge. Please accept me, Immortal Master." "Oh, so that's how it is?" Immortal Master Hong nodded, but did not say anything else. He only looked at Fang Qingshan. Seeing that, Bao Dajiang quickly gave Fang Qingshan a look. Fang Qingshan immediately understood that he wanted something good. So he took the 7 demons gourd from his waist and said respectfully, "I have a family heirloom to offer to Immortal Master. Please accept it." Hong Changbao did not notice it at first, but when he took it from Fang Qingshan's hand, his expression immediately changed. Without saying anything, he put the 7 demons gourd into his pouch. Looking at Fang Qingshan's expression, he immediately smiled. Good, Qingshan, it is rare for you to have such intentions. Since that is the case, I will accept you." "Thank you, Immortal Master." Upon hearing that, Fang Qingshan hurriedly thanked him. Hong Changbao nodded. "Since that is the case, follow me into the sect." After a pause, he said to Fang Qingshan and Bao Dajiang, "Don't mention the gourd to anyone." Although Bao Dajiang was a little surprised, he knew what to say and what not to say, so he naturally did not object. And Fang Qingshan understood the preciousness of the 7 demons gourd. This was a treasure that the demon god, an existence that was almost comparable to the red-haired old ancestor, had personally planted with painstaking efforts. It had the foundation to become a Tao treasure. If it was not for the fact that Fang Qingshan knew more good things, and that the gourd was damaged by the all-heaven chessboard, he would not have been willing to take it out. "Yes," the two of them replied in unison. Since that is the case, follow me in." Hong Changbao nodded his head in satisfaction. With a smile, he led Fong Qingshan and Bao Dajiang into the Redwood Ridge. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.